Welcome everyone to City Council Live. City Council Live being the Thursday edition of Reality Check here on the home of Black Talk Media, WURD. We are live on 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com, WURD TV, WURD app, ready to deliver gavel-to-gavel coverage of the Philadelphia City Council as they're meeting as an entire committee, meeting as a whole. Today here on Thursday, we're keeping a very close eye on the virtual screen for Philadelphia City Council because of pandemic, still meeting virtually, still maintaining that social distance. We all need to do that. Because pandemic is still raging, still surging. In fact, there are new variants and mutations out there because people couldn't sit still. So, here we are. So Philadelphia City Council still meeting in Microsoft Teams. We're watching very closely, and we will bring them on very shortly. We expect, they've been doing pretty good for a while now, starting on time, starting punctually shortly after we convene the City Council Live broadcast at 10 a.m. on Thursdays. I'm Charles Ellison. I'm your anchor for City Council Live, also host, executive producer, creator of Reality Check. You can catch me on twitter.com at Ellison Report. Also, we'll just keep, I don't know if some of you noticed, particularly if you're on Twitter, we have hashtag City Council Live. And so we try to keep that very active and try to keep that very involved. And go to twitter.com. I think you can still go to Twitter and maybe check out those hashtags, even if you don't have a Twitter handle. But, during the course of City Council Live, I'll be on Twitter. And when I hear about certain very relevant or important bills that you as Philadelphia residents will be concerned about, I'll highlight those at hashtag City Council Live, hashtag City Council Live on twitter.com. So, we're trying to do the best that we can, bring that information to you. You should especially when you're listening to these City Council broadcasts, highly recommend that you go to phlcouncil.com, phlcouncil.com. So I'm wondering too, we had so much to talk about yesterday. This is my fault, so I do apologize for this. This week had not reminded people about, I just need to make a notation in my notes each day. So we do this on, we make a regular habit out of this on Reality Check throughout the week. Did not remind people about public comment period. So that time has already passed. If you were interested in talking to City Council or giving some comments before City Council about legislation that they're deliberating on, you should have put in a request yesterday by 3 p.m. So every Wednesday, 3 p.m. is when you put in a request to provide public comment during the council meeting of the whole. And you have to do that every Wednesday before at 3 p.m. So I'm hoping that we'll have a lot of participation in the public comment period. That has been something that has rankled me for some time. I have to admit that I've been very rankled and very concerned, frankly worried, very worried that we have not had participation. We had last week, City Council came back from winter break, and we just had one comment. Unbelievable, right? Particularly considering all the people that call into WURD complaining about City Council all the time. Calling into this program, calling into other programs. The amount of heat, the amount of smoke that is directed at Philadelphia City Council, and you would think people would be lining up, especially in a virtual environment, especially the fact you don't even have to go out in the cold. You don't have to get on SEPTA. You don't have to get in your car. You don't have to worry about parking or going through security in City Hall. You just all you got to do is you got to plug in virtually. You would think people would be lining up to give comments, to give public comment at the City Council session of the whole. That has just not been the case. I think we had one comment, and it was about, independence for Puerto Rico. That was the comment. And there's a large very sizable, one of the largest Puerto Rican populations in the country is in Philadelphia. Very, very proud, long-standing legacy of Puerto Rican Philadelphians, and so they're concerned about that, about their home island, which by the way is a U.S. territory because there's still folks out there who think Puerto Ricans are like immigrants. They're not. Um, so they have social security numbers too. But anyway, that was the only comment. That was it. So, and you can't get mad at that person for participating. I give them much respect. You can't get mad at them. But get mad at yourselves because there's a whole lot of issues that folks could have commented on or could have provided their perspective on and maybe changed a few minds in city council while at it. Those public comment periods are very crucial, and the more people participating in them and making very good cogent points on pieces of legislation that are going to impact Philadelphia residents, that's the more that's happening, the more progress we make. But when you have fewer people participating in public comment period, council's just they're going to make those decisions, and are going to assume that they're making the right decisions, or they're making decisions that aren't going to bother you or aren't going to concern you. So people really have to make it. So just go to phlcouncil.com for more information on that. You'll see a navigation bar at the top of the Philadelphia City Council website page. You'll kind of take your mouse, scroll over to legislation and hearings, and then you'll see a drop-down menu. And there's a site called Offering Public Comment at Council stated sessions, and then it gives you the instructions in that site on that page for participating or requesting to participate in the public comment period during a Philadelphia City Council session. So you have to, by 3 p.m. every Wednesday, you must call. If you're interested in providing public comment, and you're very passionate, you're very concerned about some legislation or a policy proposal that Philadelphia City Council is considering, by Wednesday, the day before City Council session of the whole, you call 215-686-3406. You have to do that by 3 p.m. every Wednesday. Give your full name, give them a callback telephone number where you can be reached. Identify the bill number or resolution number that will be addressed, because you just can't come on to public comment period and talk about anything. You can't do that. You don't want to abuse. Public comment period is not there to be abused. There's a process. Legislatures operate by rules and by process. That's how they get things done. I know it's very laborious and it can be boring sometimes and people can't understand it. That's what we're here for. But that's the work. Work doesn't get done on Twitter. Work doesn't get done on talk radio. Work doesn't get done watching cable news all day and watching people, spout off opinions on. People really are under this assumption that that's the work. No, the work is done in the legislatures. That's where you take those conversations, you take those protests, you take those, you take those, very vocal complaints, and you translate them or you transform them. Then that's the job of elected officials. The job of elected officials is not to be on Twitter all day. The job of an elected official, of a policymaker, is to take those conversations, come up with those ideas that have been talked about, that have been debated about in the public discourse, and then transform them into bills, into policy. Then on the other side of it, that policy essentially becomes law, and then the whole idea theoretically is we become a better community. So that's the sausage making process. So don't call to do public comment just because you can't. Public comment is not like calling into reality check. Public comment is about a specific bill or resolution that you read about or that you're concerned about, that you heard from your other neighbors and other community members, and you want to address it. You want to tell council, hey, this is how I feel about this. You should vote yes on it. You should vote no on it. So identify that bill number or resolution number, and then state whether your comments are for or against that particular bill or resolution. Now, here's something else that's very important during public comment period. You must keep your comments to about 2 minutes. Is that right, Troy? Yes, 2 minutes. 2 minutes or 3 minutes? 2 minutes. I've done it once before. and they will like cut you off. So 3 minutes. I'm sorry. Thank you, Troy. 3 minutes. You get 3 minutes. You have to keep your presentations, your comments very condensed. I would highly recommend that you write it down and you practice it before you deliver it during that Thursday open public comment session before City Council. Test it out, time it, have a stopwatch. You know, most smartphones, all smartphones have a stopwatch feature on them. Test it out. You know, I try not to take up too much time during your comments because you only have 3 minutes and the 3 minutes go fast. Because I've heard people do this all the time. And I made the same mistake when I did it the first time. And that was the last time that I did it. Don't waste time announcing who you are, right? Like, just like, hey, my name is Charles Ellison. I'm host, executive producer of Reality Check, and then on WURD, and then you go into it. Don't go into this whole, don't give your resume. Don't spend the whole 3 minutes or half of the 3 minutes giving your resume you know, who you are. It's not about you. Public comment period is not about you. It's about the public policy and having an impact on the legislative process. Okay, Philadelphia City Council is starting. You will hear the voice of Philadelphia City Council President Darrell Clark and others. So let's go ahead and tune in.
Everyone, we're going to get started now. So I understand that state law currently requires that the following announcement be made at the beginning of every remote council session. Due to the current public health emergency, City Council is currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make this remote meeting possible. Instructions for how the public may view the meetings and offer public comment are included in the stated meeting notice that was published in the Daily News, Inquirer, and Legal Intelligencer prior to the meeting and can also be found on phlcouncil.com. I now note that the hour has come, and the clerk will please call a roll to take attendance. Members that are in attendance will please indicate that you're present or say a couple of words to make sure that your image is displayed on the screen. Mr. Decker, please call a roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Good morning. I am present. Looking forward to today's council session.
Morning.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Good morning, everyone. I'm present.
Good morning.
Morning.
Councilman Dom.
Good morning, Council President, and good morning, colleagues, and good morning to the public. Hope everyone's well.
Morning.
Councilwoman Gauthier.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues present.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning, Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Councilman Green.
Good morning, Council President, good morning, colleagues. Looking forward to today's session.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gim.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Looking forward to today.
Good morning.
Councilman Heenan.
Good morning, Council President, and good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
Councilman Johnson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
Councilman Jones.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I am present.
Good morning.
Councilman O.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I'm present.
Good morning.
Councilman O'Neill.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Parker.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues and viewing public.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez.
Buenos dias, buenos dias, buenos dias. Good things happen in Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Councilman Squilla.
Good morning, Council President, and good morning, colleagues present.
Councilman Thomas.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Happy to serve the city of Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Council President Clark.
I am present. Thank you all very much. Quorum of the council is present and will now come to order. Despite the great need, there will be no invocation today. We will, however, observe a very brief moment of silent prayer for our city, its leaders, and the citizens during the current public health crisis. Can we now please observe a moment of silence? Thank you very much. Our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, January 28th, 2021. And the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move the acceptance for the journal for the meeting Thursday, January 28th, 2021.
Second.
Second. Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, January 28th, 2021 stand approved. All in favor will indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and our journal is approved. And our next order of business is request for leave of absence. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the members of council, there are no requests for leaves of absence today.
Chair thanks the Councilwoman. And our next order of business is communications. And Mr. Decker, would you please read the messages from the mayor and any other communications that you may have in your possession?
From the mayor to the president to members of the council of the city of Philadelphia, I am submitting herewith for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution appointing Chris Barnes to the board of directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Katrina Johnston Zimmerman to the board of directors of the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Adam Zakin to the board of directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Allison Harvey Hindman to the board of directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Monica Thompson to the board of directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Adam Shapiro to the board of directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, providing for the expansion of the Board of License and Inspection Review, and providing for the submission of the proposed amendment to the electors of Philadelphia, and an ordinance providing for the submission of the qualified electors of the city of Philadelphia of an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, providing for the expansion of the Board of License and Inspection Review, and an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to convey to the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development a parcel of land situated at 2401 Chestnut Street for further conveyance, and authorizing the plotting upon City Plan Number 307 of a right-of-way for bridge repair, maintenance, and reconstruction purposes for stormwater sewer and drainage purposes, and an ordinance authorizing the Philadelphia Municipal Authority, the Philadelphia Gas Works by Philadelphia Facilities Management Corporation, solely in its capacity as operator and manager of the city-owned Philadelphia Gas Works, to enter into certain transactions and contracts regarding the lease and license of portions of the premises located at 5000 Summerdale Avenue and 5501 Whitaker Avenue, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, for the use of the Philadelphia Gas Works, all under such terms and conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. And our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. By way of a reminder, we're asking that all resolutions, including privileged resolutions, be placed on the final passes calendar for the next session of council, unless they are being referred to committee. In our current remote environment, this procedure will provide an appropriate opportunity for public comment. I want to thank you very much in advance for your anticipated cooperation. Mr. Decker, will you please read the titles of the legislation that is being offered today by members?
Councilwoman Parker offers one bill and two resolutions entitled an ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the city of Philadelphia of an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, providing for the expansion of the Board of License and Inspection Review as approved by resolution of the City Council.
Refer to committee.
And a resolution commending the Philadelphia 76ers in creating the Buy Black program to support Black-owned small businesses.
And next week's calendar.
And a resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, providing for the expansion of the Board of License and Inspection Review.
Refer to committee.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson offers two resolutions, entitled a resolution honoring and congratulating Philadelphia natives Sincere Harris and Erin Wilson for their new positions as White House Liaison for the Environmental Protection Agency and Special Assistant to the President and Deputy Director for the White House Office of Political Affairs and Strategy.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution recognizing February 2021 as Career and Technical Education CTE Awareness Month in Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gim offers one resolution entitled "A Resolution Commemorating the Life and Legacy of Community Activist Russell Medin, whose tireless advocacy for vibrant public space and public bike share led to millions of Philadelphians enjoying and celebrating the city of Philadelphia's public trails and provided a powerful model of civic engagement for the nation and the world."
Good guy. Next week's calendar.
Councilman Jones offers one bill and two resolutions entitled "An Ordinance Repealing Chapter 21-1200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Police Advisory Board and replacing it with a new chapter 21-1200 that reconstitutes and renames the board as the Citizens Police Oversight Commission and is authorized by the charter, provides for the commission's appointment, the powers and duties of the commission, and the manner in which the commission and other officers, employees, and agencies shall fulfill their respective responsibilities with respect to the commission."
Refer to committee.
And a resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Public Safety to hold public hearings examining the feasibility of a multi-state reciprocity program for witness relocation using United States Department of Housing and Urban Development and public housing agency properties.
Today's calendar.
And a resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Public Safety to hold public hearings to examine more equitable solutions to crime scene cleanup policies that place the logistical and financial burden on the families of homicide victims.
Today's calendar.
Councilman Johnson offers two bills entitled "An Ordinance Amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by revising and clarifying certain provisions and making technical changes." And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the city to convey to the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development a parcel of land situated at 2401 Chestnut Street for further conveyance.
Refer to committee.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez offers two bills. On behalf of Council President, Councilwoman Sanchez offers an ordinance authorizing transfers and appropriations for fiscal year 2021 from the General Fund, the Council to the General Fund, the Department of Planning and Development.
Committee.
And on her own behalf, Councilwoman Sanchez offers an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by revising and clarifying certain provisions and making technical changes.
Also refer to committee.
Councilman Green offers two bills. On behalf of Council President, Councilman Green offers an ordinance authorizing municipal authority and the Philadelphia Gas Works by Philadelphia Facilities Management Corporation, solely in its capacity as operator and manager of the city-owned Philadelphia Gas Works, to enter into certain transactions and contracts regarding the lease and license of portions of the premises located at 5000 Summerdale Avenue, 5501 Whitaker Avenue.
Refer to committee.
Councilman Green offers on his own behalf an ordinance amending section 2610 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Statement of Financial Interests by revising the required conditions and information for filing.
For the committee.
Councilwoman Brooks offers one resolution entitled "A Resolution Authorizing the City Council Committee on Intergenerational Affairs and Aging to hold public hearings examining solutions to the ongoing housing crisis impacting senior Philadelphians."
And that will be on today's calendar.
Councilman Dom offers two resolutions entitled "A Resolution Honoring Stephanie Resnick on her receipt of the prestigious Judge Learned Hand Award from the American Jewish Committee in Philadelphia for her distinguished legal career."
Today's calendar.
And a resolution recognizing the work of William R. Sasso upon his transition from his role as chairman of Stradley, Ronan, Stevens, and Young to chairman emeritus.
For next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gautier offers one resolution appointing Andrew Goodman to the Board of Directors of the Philadelphia Land Bank.
That's free. Yeah, it's the one I was telling you about. Huh? What do you mean? Okay, they can do it?
Somebody needs to mute their mic. Mr. Decker, that will be on next week's calendar. And then, Mr. Decker, I think I said that one of the honorees was going to be on today's calendar. I think that should be on next week's calendar. Did you catch that for me? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Decker.
Councilman Thomas offers three resolutions, entitled a resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Public Safety to hold hearings to review the motor vehicle stop of a young mother of her and her 2-year-old son and resulting police activities, as well as other incidents that arose following the police killing of Walter Wallace.
Today's calendar.
And a resolution honoring and congratulating the St. Joseph's Preparatory School football team on their successful 2020 season and overall 6-0 record in the Philadelphia Catholic League.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution thanking Congress for passing the Save Our Stages Act and urging the Small Business Administration to equitably promote and distribute funds while continuing to support and invest in the arts and culture sector.
And that will be on next week's calendar.
Councilman Squilla offers one bill and 6 resolutions. Entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 93900 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Property Licenses and Owner Accountability, Section 8906, entitled Property License Fees, Chapter 14604, entitled Accessory Uses and Structures, and Chapter 19400, entitled Hotel Room Rental Tax, to add and revise provisions related to the use of properties for limited lodging and hotel purposes, and to the collection of hotel rental taxes in connection therewith.
That will be referred to committee.
And a resolution appointing Chris Barnes to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District. And a resolution appointing Katrina Johnston Zimmerman to the Board of Directors of the South Street Head House District. And a resolution appointing Adam Zakin to the Board of Directors of the South Street Head House District. And a resolution appointing Allison Harvey Hinman to the Board of Directors of the South Street Head House District. And a resolution appointing Monica Thompson to the Board of Directors of the South Street Head House District. And a resolution appointing Adam Shapiro to the Board of Directors of the South Street Head House District.
Those resolutions will be referred to committee.
Councilwoman Bass offers one bill and 2 resolutions. On behalf of Council President, Councilwoman Bass offers an ordinance amending Title 17 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Contracts and Procurement, by amending Chapter 17-1400, entitled Non-Competitively Bid Contracts, Financial Assistance, to provide procedures applicable to the awarding of contracts to non-city providers of vaccine doses for COVID-19 and related variants.
For the committee.
Councilwoman Bass offers on her own behalf a resolution recognizing February 7, 2021 as National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day and honoring the work of Vivashi in providing access to culturally sensitive, high-quality health care, HIV/AIDS services, health education, and social services.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution recognizing the week of February 1, 2021 to February 7, 2021 as National Gun Violence Survivors Week, to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence and uplift the resilient voices of survivors in Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman O offers one bill and 1 resolution, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 192600 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Business Income and Receipts Taxes, by expanding the distressed business tax credit to include businesses impacted by COVID-19 restrictions.
I'll be referred to committee.
And a resolution expressing support for longtime Philadelphia news anchor Yuki Washington and standing with all impacted employees at CBS 3 amid reports of gross misconduct at the network.
And that will be on next week's calendar.
There are no other bills or resolutions being offered by the members, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes the introduction of bills and resolutions. We have no reports from committee today, so our next order of business is the consideration of the calendar. of there being no bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a motion concerning the resolutions on the final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the following resolutions on the final passage calendar. They are resolution numbers 210008, 210009, 210011, 210012, 210013, 210014, 210015, 210016, 210017, 210018, 210019, 210020, 21021, 21022, 21023, 21024, 21025, 21026, 21027, 21028, 21029, 21035, 21036, 21037, 21039, 21040, 21042, 21043, 21044, and 21047.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and probably second that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the resolution just read by Councilwoman Parker. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those
Aye.
ayes have it. The motion carries. We will
Aye.
consider the resolution consent agenda shortly. The chair again recognizes Councilwoman Parker for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. In addition to the resolutions being considered on the consent agenda, the following resolution is being called up from the second reading and final passage calendars today, number 210038. All other bills and resolutions are being held.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Thank you. So before we consider the calendar today, we will have our public comment session. We're going to take about 3, 4, 5 minutes to give our technology professionals some time to connect the speakers we have for today's meeting. So let's take a brief break.
All right, you've just been listening to Philadelphia City Council taking a brief break and preparing for the public comment section of Philadelphia City Council's meeting of the whole. Let's see how many people are participating in public comment. Let's see the bills and the resolutions that they will be providing comment on or providing insights or perspective on. So we're going to wait for a few minutes, several minutes. I'll just open up the phone line in case maybe there's a call or someone out there, 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 until they come back for public comment. You typically hear, like you were hearing just now, Council Majority Leader Sherelle Parker read off a number of bill numbers, you know, like 210008, 0011, you know, it's just a whole long list of numbers, and so people are always confused. Sometimes I'll get confused and trying to wonder exactly, okay, well, what are those bills? Where do you find those bills? Once again, go to phlcouncil.com, go to the website. That's the Philadelphia City Council website, phlcouncil.com. So let me just, as a part of housekeeping for this program, let me walk you through it, and then we'll do this more often each week, as you know, and try to get listeners into the rhythm, and viewers as well on WURD TV, get them into the rhythm of learning how to access the Philadelphia City Council website. So we go to phlcouncil.com, phlcouncil.com, go to that navigation bar, you'll see legislation and hearings. So you put your mouse on legislation and hearings, and then you scroll, you'll see the drop-down menu suddenly pops up. Go to Legislative Information Center, click on that, and then you see, like, you'll have another page that's phila.legistar.com. You see a big bar, you see like a picture of the skyline of Philadelphia, and it'll say City Council, City of Philadelphia. A lot of major cities, city councils use Legistar, so phila.legistar.com. That's another quick way of going to it as well. Then look at that navigation bar, click on legislation. Click on legislation at that navigation bar. So now you have like the search box. There's a search box that's also presented to you, and that's where excuse me, you can put in the number of a bill. So let's go 2100011, I think is one bill. Let's just take a random bill. We're basically looking at this year, and then you click search legislation, and then oh, you know what, I might have added another 0 there. So you click search legislation, and then the bill pops up. So 210011 is a bill calling on Congress to pass HR 6422 to create a national infrastructure bank. So that's just kind of a quick crack lesson on how to find a bill that you hear when you hear those bills announced. So one thing you could do, particularly if you're a frequent watcher or viewer, a frequent listener of City Council Live, and you really are trying to follow these proceedings. And there's one, I know that I've heard this from a lot of listeners, and I remember the first time that, I was exposed to Philadelphia City Council, it was confusing for me as well. But the way you keep track of that, we can all keep track of that, is when the councilwoman, when the council majority leader, when she starts reading off, or at any point during a city council of the whole session, when they read off those numbers, those lists, those bill numbers, have your laptop ready, beside you, have a notepad, and just as you're hearing the first step is, as you're hearing the numbers called out, take your pen, write down the numbers as they're being called out especially by the council majority leader, by Sherelle Parker. So, list those numbers down. Like, I did it actually. I just opened up an email window and I listed down all of those bill numbers. 2-1 obviously is because we're in 2021, right? So since we're in 2021, the bill numbers are going to start off with 2-1, and then 2100, and then there's going to be a number. So 2100. 08, 210009, and then so on and so forth, 11, 12, 13. So anyway, list those bill numbers down. So that's the first step. Then the next step is go to phlcouncil.com, go take your mouse, put it over legislation and hearings. You have the drop-down menu just popped up, and then click on Legislative Information Center. Now, one other way, I'm trying to limit the amount of websites that I'm calling out and people go to, but one other very direct way to go to the Philadelphia Legislative Search Tool or Legislative Information Center is to go directly to this one website called phila.legistar, that's spelled legistar.com, phila.legistar.com. And then that'll pop up, because that's really where you're going from the Philadelphia City Council website, and you click on Legislative Information Center from their website. You're really just going to, it's a hyperlink for phila.legistar.com. Legistar is like this. Basically it's an app. It's a software that a lot of I've seen a lot of, like New York uses Legistar, for example. New York City Council. So Philadelphia is not the only one that uses Legistar. They have a license probably to, they probably purchased a license to create or build out a Legistar website. And so phila.legistar.com, and then you see the navigation bar. You'll see things like council home, welcome, legislation calendar, who's my council member, transcript room, city directory, phila.gov, rules of council, Philadelphia Code and Charter. Phila.legistar.com is really a good source of information on the Philadelphia City Council. but more importantly, those bills. That's how you find those bills. And then you go click on legislation at philly.legistar.com, click on legislation, and then you'll see the search box pop up. And then you can get legislation for this year, for 2021. You can also check on legislation if you have the numbers of bills that were introduced or presented last year, 2020. You can find those too. Pretty much looks like they have bills. I mean, you can go back to 2000, year 2000, for finding bills. I guess before 2000, I guess you got to go down to City Hall, or maybe there's something else. I don't know. I don't know if you want to look for that. But anyway, bottom line is just to keep up with bills that are being discussed and deliberated now. That's how you find those bills, and you open them up. They're typically in a PDF, and you can read the bill. Yeah, you're able to read the bill, and you're able to see it for yourself. 215, we're still waiting on City Council to open up the public comment period. 215-634-8065. 866-361-0900. Phone lines are open while they're working that out. As soon as they return, we will go back to listening to public comments. So let's see how many people are there. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900. So that's the City Council Live Challenge, right? If you have a challenge, you know how you have like different types of broadcast challenges. You challenge the audience to, donate X amount of dollars to some cause. So here's, we'll do a City Council Live Challenge. Let's just, and this is on all of us. This is on me too. They're back on. Public comment period is back on City Council, Philadelphia City Council Live. Let's tune in.
We'll take a brief moment, and I'm going to go over some rules. Now that everyone is connected to the meeting, and before considering the resolutions and bills we have before us today, we will consider the public comment. It will go as follows. Our public comment must concern matters on the second reading and final passage calendars for possible action at a session of council. A speaker on any of those matters must sign up in order to testify. You must call 215-686-3406 by 3 p.m. the day before the session to sign up for public comment. When you call, we will take your name, phone number, the number of the legislative item you are commenting on, and whether you are in support of or against the legislation, and we add you to the list. We will telephone each person on the list during the council session and invite them to our remote meeting. Under ideal circumstances, we will each have 3 minutes. I think we're actually going to have 3 minutes today to speak. But the time limit may vary from time to time. In order to be fair to all those wishing to speak, I intend to hold faithfully to the established time limit. So once invited to the meeting and asked to begin your testimony, a timer will be started. We will monitor your remaining time throughout your testimony, and when there are 30 seconds remaining to your time, you will be reminded of this. Once your allotted time has passed, you will be asked to conclude your remarks. Shortly thereafter, you will be muted and disconnected from the remote meeting. I also reserve the right to limit the number of speakers where repetitious comments are being made on the same matter, and to limit the scope of the testimony to only certain items on the agenda during the emergency, which could affect callbacks or public comment at a meeting. Please be aware that this public meeting is being recorded. Because the meeting is public, participants and viewers have no reasonable expectation of privacy. So by continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. I will now ask the Chief Clerk to read the first name on our list for our public comment.
The first speaker is Shonda McLean.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm calling regarding Resolution 200038. And I want to thank City Council and Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson for this proclamation. The work I've done with Vanessa Lois Gambati to support the African American Children's Book Fair over the years, whether as an editor at the Philadelphia Tribune or now, I've done because I believe in what she's doing and the impact her work has on the African American community. Books have played an important role in my life, and I only wish I had the exposure and access to books written by and for African Americans when I was a child. So thank you to Vanessa for your work with the African American Children's Book Fair, and thank you, City Council, for this recognition. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for the record, just state your name, please.
My name is Shonda McLean.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Carol Weatherford.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
State your
I
name.
am Carol Boston Weatherford. I am Carol Boston Weatherford, the author of more than 50 books for young people, the author of at least 5 books that have Philadelphia tie-ins: Box, Henry Brown Mails Himself to Freedom, Moses, When Harriet Tubman Led Her People to Freedom, By and By, Charles Albert Tindley, the father of gospel music, and 2 books about jazz greats who have ties to Philadelphia, Before John Was a Jazz Giant and Becoming Billie Holiday. I'm especially pleased to support and accept the proclamation for the 29th Annual African American Children's Book Fair, because I've been involved in the fair for more than 50 years, so I know the importance of the event to the Philadelphia community and to the community of Black children's book authors and illustrators. This is an event where Black children's book authors and illustrators get a chance to meet children some of whom have never met a real live author or illustrator, and where families can come and choose from more Black books than they can at any other event that in the year and perhaps in the country. So it's an important event for literacy and also for the African American community, and I'm heartened that the council is recognizing the event. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
The next speaker is Shamika Sawyer.
Yes, good morning. I am Shamika Sawyer. I am giving a testimony on behalf of Councilwoman Bass and the National Gun Violence Survivors Week resolution that she's introducing. I do believe that this is important. My brother was murdered on June 1st, 2020 during the pandemic. And I do feel that survivors of gun violence, especially the victims' families, should be recognized because when the cameras go off, we are still in pain. When there's no more media attention, we are still in pain. And I do believe that a National Gun Violence Survivors Week will bring light and shed more impact on what we go through. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and our condolences.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Mary Bentley Lamar.
Greetings. I am Mary Bentley Lamar, the North Atlantic Regional Director of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And I'm pleased to be here to support resolution number 210008. So I first want to bring greetings to the Honorable City of Philadelphia Council President Darrell Clark and resolution sponsor and Majority Leader, Council members Cheryl Parker, and all the members of the Council. We truly appreciate your support through the years of Alpha Kappa Alpha. Now, I'm your neighbor. I live in New Jersey. I and approximately 5,000 of my sorority sisters will virtually enter the City of Brotherly Love for the 90th Annual North Atlantic Regional Conference, March 4th through the 7th, 2021. We're honored that you proposed to make March 4th Alpha Kappa Alpha Day in Philadelphia with this resolution. On that day, I want to personally invite you and the city to our public meeting that showcases national and local dignitaries, honors community leaders, and highlights community service. The public meeting will feature a performance by Kathy Sledge, and the keynote address will be delivered by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and Alpha Kappa Alpha woman Yamiche Alcindor. Just a brief history, Alpha Kappa Alpha has ties to the City of Brotherly Love. Now, I understand that Augusta Gussie Clark, now deceased, was a member of your council, and she's an Alpha Kappa Alpha woman. We were founded at Howard University in 1908. Our founder, Ethel Hedgeman Lyle, resided in the Philadelphia area in her latter years, and she chartered the first graduate chapter in Philadelphia, Omega Omega chapter. Rosa Parks, today would have been her 108th birthday, and I understand that your SEPTA system has set aside a seat on the bus today in her honor. She's an Alpha Kappa Alpha member. And making history her story is the second highest officer in the United States, our sorority sister, Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris. So it's no accident that the resolution number ends in 08. We appreciate, you must have made that happen. We appreciate that you made that happen because on behalf of the North Atlantic members spanning from Washington, D.C. to Maine, we want to thank you for this consideration and joyfully request that resolution number 210008, designating March 4th, 2021 as Alpha Kappa Alpha Day in Philadelphia, be adopted. Thank you so much.
Thank you, neighbor. Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for all the awesome work you all have done in the past. We really appreciate you all, and welcome.
The next speaker is John Scott.
Good morning. Thank you, Council President, members of Council. My name is John Scott. I'm speaking on Bill 210038 concerning the zoning reforms. I'm a neighborhood advocate and a committee person and chair of the 18th Ward in Fishtown. I want to first talk about how the RCOs have fared under the current zoning code. In Fishtown, our RCO was once the gold standard. Zoning meetings brought the highest turnout, and votes were cast to support or oppose each project, and they were held anonymously, and all neighbors had a vote. What was once the gold standard of community democracy has become a swamp infested by realtors, developers, and special interests. This year, only 80 people out of the 26,000 in the neighborhood were even allowed to elect the board, and even those 80 were required to choose from a specific slate of candidates. Regular residents are not allowed to join the zoning committee anymore, while non-resident realtors are. Neighbors that do participate must sign up, and because there is no privacy policy in place, board members offer up geo-targeted email address lists to business groups. Our participation is now a marketing ploy. We are told by the RCO that we can't talk about parking because it's not a zoning issue. Meanwhile, the organization's president lobbies for parking restrictions that make it even worse. This is what has become of our democracy in our community, our RCO system that was supposed to give us a voice. But downtown at the ZBA, it's even worse. When we voice our opinions at the ZBA, we are muted. In a democracy, we try to speak and we are muted. When 200 of my neighbors speak on behalf of a local business and their natural expansion, the ZBA denies them. But when an unscrupulous developer comes to the ZBA, our opposition is ignored. 92% of the variance passes. The only ones that don't are the small businesses and the longtime neighbors. The word hardship isn't even mentioned anymore at most zoning meetings. And this is what our city democracy has become. The standards that you all put in place in 2012 are now far out the window. RCOs that are now elected by less than 1% of the community, I'm sure that wasn't the objective. Community zoning meetings that don't address parking concerns. Weren't they part of the objective in 2012? And ZBA hearings where the connected get everything they ask for despite council's wishes and everyone else gets the mute button. Well, I'm sure that wasn't the goal either. Council President, I've worked with neighborhood groups across the city who share our concerns. I've spoken out for Strawberry Mansion and their right to determine the design direction of their own neighborhood. I've spoken in South Kensington about their right to preserve their community gardens. And I've spoken many times in Fishtown with my longtime residents who wish only not to be buried by endless construction. Council President, I support your bill and I commend your leadership. This is long overdue. Council, please support 210038. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scott. Appreciate your testimony.
The next speaker is Jude Ann Spencer.
Good morning, Council President Clark and all members present. My name is Jude Ann Spencer Phillip, and I'm the Communications Specialist at Sebashi Transition to Hope. I am speaking in support of the resolution to recognize February 7th as National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day and to honor the work of the Bashi Transition to Hope. On behalf of the Bashi, I would like to first thank Councilmember Bass for introducing this resolution, as well as Council Members Parker, Gim, Brooks, Hennon, Thomas, and Dom for co-sponsoring. During the height of the HIV/AIDS epidemic, the Bashi's co-founder and first executive director, Dr. Rashida Abdul Kabir, while working in the public health sector, saw firsthand the disparities in our health system when treating with communities of color. What she realized was that the majority of the Black population received the least amount of information and access to resources as the disease continues to spread within our communities, and she knew that something needed to be done. In 1985, the Bashi was founded as a direct response to this crisis in low-income communities of color, with the aim of providing access to culturally sensitive, high-quality healthcare, HIV/AIDS services, health education, and social services. We were the first African-American organization in the United States to address this crisis in urban communities, and today we remain one of Philadelphia's largest providers of HIV/AIDS education and services for the urban community. Although much progress has been made since the beginning of the HIV/AIDS epidemic, Black and African American populations continue to be disproportionately affected by the disease. According to the CDC, Black and African American individuals account for a higher proportion of new diagnoses and people with HIV compared to other races and ethnicities. And in fact, although Black and African American persons make up 13% of the U.S. population, we account for 43% of all new HIV cases based on 2018 reports. Observances such as National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day help to bring much needed attention to these disparities that continue to exist in our communities. And as an organization that works directly with low-income communities of color, the Bashi fully supports any opportunity to increase awareness, encourage dialogue, and highlight the work that has been done and that still needs to be done to bring an end to health and social inequities. Thank you for your time, and on behalf of the Bashi, again, thank you for acknowledging the work that we do.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate you.
The next speaker is Andrew Miller.
Hi, Council. My name is Andrew Miller. I'm a constituent in the 18th Ward in Fishtown and a member of the River Wards Coalition. I'm testifying today to support Bill 210038 and thank Council President Clark for introducing this, and as well as encourage the rest of Council to support the bill. It has become apparent to many of us in the community that the current zoning code and the organizations that uphold and enforce the zoning code have significant shortcomings. These shortcomings manifest themselves in various ways. We've seen the shortcomings in matters of racial equity, as we discussed here before when we were establishing the Strawberry Mansion overlay. We've seen unsafe construction practices as a result of an unhealthy and counterproductive deference to developers and real estate speculators. I mean, you can look to the June 5th memorial at 22nd Market, multiple more recent building collapses that have happened in Fishtown as well as elsewhere throughout the city as testimony to that as well. We've seen the unnecessary destruction of Philadelphia history, which is arguably one of our greatest assets in driving tourism to our various neighborhoods. And for these and other reasons stated by others today, I ask that City Council pass Bill 210038 so that we can seek necessary improvements and greater accountability in the zoning process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony.
The next speaker is Valerie Ross.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good morning. I'll state your name for the record. Proceed with your testimony.
Yes, my name is Valerie Ross. I'm a co-founder of West Philadelphians for Progressive Planning and Development, an RCO. I'm I received a certificate in Citizens Planning Institute as well, and I'm calling in support of City Councilman Darrell Clark's proposal for a zoning review board 210038. I am commenting in support for a number of reasons. I won't repeat others. I will send my support to the other RCOs who have spoken. We have the identical experience in West Philly with dangerous construction, rampant real estate speculation. And I would also note 40,000 units in the city, affordable units being wiped out in the last few years, just since 2015, in a time when we're desperate for affordable housing. We see an incoherent system currently with ZBA, as has already been mentioned, approving 92%, I believe, of all requests, all variances put before them. We are, as RCOs, overwhelmed with the number of variance requests, and never is their hardship demonstrated. We have lots of neighborhoods underway in terms of being gentrified. There's no support for homeowners, very limited support. The developers are taking over RCOs, taking over local politics. And so we have that issue, plus mounting research on the density argument, which is usually the excuse that developers use to trample over neighborhoods, is showing the density issues are creating all sorts of health and climate problems. They're having a terrible effect on our environment at a time of global warming. The global scientists right now are saying what we should be doing is not building more where there's no population demand for more market rate units. We should be retrofitting houses, supporting our underclass, our lower income residents to retrofit their houses, and also affluent people should be retrofitting. We need for the city council to take control of this so that there's coherent people who understand our neighborhoods and what we're going through. I thank you for this proposal. I hope it passes because we desperately need it. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you for your testimony, ma'am.
There are no other speakers in the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Decker. That concludes our public comment. We will now consider today's resolution consent agenda. I will ask the clerk to please read the titles of all the resolutions on the consent agenda. After each title is read, any member may object to the inclusion of the resolution on the resolution consent agenda. Upon such an objection, and without debate, the resolution will be immediately removed from the resolution consent agenda and placed on today's regular final passes calendar. Mr. Decker will now read the titles of the resolutions on the consent agenda.
Resolution number 210008, entitled a resolution honoring the 90th North Atlantic Regional Conference of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and declaring March 4, 2021 as Alpha Kappa Alpha Day in the city of Philadelphia. And resolution number 210009, entitled a resolution honoring the African American Children's Book Project on the occasion of its 29th annual African American Children's Book Fair. And resolution number 210011, entitled a resolution calling on Congress to pass House Resolution 6422 to create a national infrastructure bank. And resolution number 210012, entitled a resolution honoring the life and legacy of Ted Kirsch for his lifelong commitment to educating children, empowering and supporting teachers, and strengthening the labor movement. And resolution number 210013, entitled a resolution honoring and celebrating Philadelphia's living legends, Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, Reverend Gregory Holston, Reverend Mark Tyler, Deputy Police Commissioner Melvin Singleton, State Representative Joanna McClinton, and the doctors of the Black Doctors Consortium, who were the guiding lights of the year 2020 and are trailblazers and leaders in their respective fields of medicine, research, politics, religion, the justice system, and community outreach as part of the commemoration of Black History Month. And resolution number 210014, entitled a resolution honoring the life and legacy of esteemed Philadelphia entrepreneur and restaurateur Kevin Parker. And resolution number 210015, entitled a resolution honoring Henry Aaron for a lifetime of pioneering achievements as a professional athlete and civil rights champion. And resolution number 210016, entitled a resolution also naming the 1300 block of South Street Kevin Parker Way to honor and celebrate the legacy of Kevin Parker. And resolution number 210017, entitled a resolution also naming the 7,000 block of Woodland Avenue, Paul Earthquake Moore Way, to honor and celebrate Paul Earthquake Moore for a lifetime of devoted service to the Southwest Philadelphia community. And resolution number 210018, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2001 Pemberton Street, located in the 2nd Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210019, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 833 East Madison Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210020, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 1736 and 1738 Bodine Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210021, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 1907 North Phillip Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210022, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2006 North Lawrence Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210023, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2031 Orkney Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210024, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2034 Hope Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210025, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2249 Waterloo Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210026, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2451 North 6th Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210027, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2661 North Oriana Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210028, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 4257 North Fairhill Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210029, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 4338 Tacoma Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210035, entitled a resolution recognizing the outstanding work of Deborah Diamond as president of Campus Philly upon her departure from the organization. And resolution number 210036, entitled a resolution honoring and congratulating Dr. Rachel Levine upon her appointment to the Assistant Health Secretary in the administration of President Joseph Biden, and recognizing her outstanding contributions to the safety and health of Pennsylvanians during the COVID-19 pandemic. And resolution number 210037, entitled a resolution recognizing AJC Philadelphia for its work with We Are Here and ORT in the 2021 commemoration of International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and further acknowledging January 27th as International Holocaust Remembrance Day in the city of Philadelphia. And resolution number 210039, entitled a resolution recognizing and honoring Paul Deegan on his retirement after more than 30 years of service to PIDC and more than 45 total years of service to the city of Philadelphia. And resolution number 210040, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to certain properties located in the 1st Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210042, entitled a resolution supporting House Resolution 25, which would initiate investigations and call for the sanction, including removal from the House of Representatives, of members who sought to overturn the 2020 presidential election. And resolution number 210043, entitled a resolution honoring and recognizing Dr. Kiznikia Corbett for her leadership and achievement on the National Institute of Health's COVID-19 vaccine research. And resolution number 210044, entitled a resolution honoring and recognizing Stacey Abrams for her leadership as founder of the Fair Fight Action and the New Georgia Project, and her achievement in fighting voter suppression. And resolution number 210047, entitled a resolution honoring and celebrating the legendary record label Philadelphia International Records on the occasion of their 50th anniversary, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Chair now recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a motion to adopt each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda has been adopted. We will now consider the resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar. And Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210038.
A resolution authorizing the creation of a zoning code review commission to evaluate and recommend improvements to Philadelphia's zoning code.
And the chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill for a motion on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. We will now consider.
I have additional resolutions, Mr. President.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Decker. I was getting ready to ask you to do the additional resolution.
Sorry for the interruption, Mr. President.
No problem, sir. That's why you're there.
We have a resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Public Safety to hold public hearings examining the feasibility of a multi-state reciprocity program for witness relocation using United States Department of Housing and Urban Development and Public Housing Agency properties, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Public Safety to hold public hearings to examine more equitable solutions to crime scene cleanup policies that place the logistical and financial burden on the families of homicide victims, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Jones.
Mr. President, I will speak to these resolutions at the speech of the majority. I move for the adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Intergenerational Affairs and Aging to hold public hearings examining solutions to the ongoing housing crisis impacting senior Philadelphians, introduced by Councilwoman Brooks.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Brooks.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
A resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Public Safety to hold hearings to review the motor vehicle stop of a young mother and her 2-year-old son and resulting police activities, as well as other incidents that arose following the police killing of Walter Wallace, introduced by Councilman Thomas.
Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our calendar for today. Prior to recognizing members regarding speeches, I will note for the record at this time that we will use the chat feature available in Microsoft Teams to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized in order to comply with the Sunshine Act. The chat feature must only be used for this particular purpose. With that said, are there any speeches on behalf of the minority? Chair recognizes Councilwoman Brooks.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to take a few moments to thank the 14 council members who co-sponsored my resolution to hold hearings on how Philadelphia's senior population is impacted by the housing crisis. Just as our aging population has been disproportionately impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, seniors are amongst the hardest hit by Philadelphia's housing crisis. This resolution commissions the Committee on Intergenerational Affairs and Aging to hold a series of hearings that would focus on a wide range of experiences that seniors have. Those who own their homes, renters, those who are incarcerated, and those who reside in shelter care are experiencing homelessness, and seniors who are living in nursing homes. As the city works towards a recovery that leaves no one behind, my hope is that these hearings will help us identify housing solutions targeted towards seniors and ensure that all our aging residents have access to safe and affordable housing. The pandemic has demonstrated that housing is the single most important way to stabilize communities and protect our neighbors. And we know that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. So I'm grateful for Council's clear dedication to this issue, and I'm looking forward to getting to work on these hearings. Thank you so much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for your continued. The next are their speeches on behalf of the majority. Chair recognizes Councilman Donovan.
Thank you, Council President. I wanted to thank all my colleagues, including also our state senators and state representatives, for their support in our letter to Congress on proposing a dollar-for-dollar tax credit for office buildings and other facilities for indoor ventilation systems to help them get their economy back on track, to get them open, get them restarted. So I just wanted to thank everybody. I hope the federal government will take this up. From an economic standpoint, this tax credit is peanuts compared to the loss of the economy we have right now. They should all be in favor of doing this. So I hope they'll take this seriously and it'll become a reality. And then I wanted to also comment, I guess, on the number one topic of the day. And that is, I do share everyone's frustrations regarding the administration's contract with Philly fighting COVID, the preferential treatment, the lack of scrutiny, the inequities, and the lack of experienced leadership at the very top of the organization. Last week, I did speak with several businesses and organizations who are willing to support mass drive-through vaccinations across the city, open to everyone, even if they don't have a car. We talked about doing this in addition to neighborhood sites throughout the city, and now we're all talking about local pharmacy options as well, and we need to provide vaccinations everywhere in every possible option. I did propose these options to the administration and to Dr. Farley last week, sent a follow-up letter asking the administration to provide its plan by February 12th. I did receive a response that they don't want to use locations like Lincoln Financial Field because only 82% of the people have access to cars. I think that's unacceptable. 82% of the people have access to cars, 18% do not have access to cars. If 82% of the people have access, we should look at every possible option, because right now, I know many people driving to South Jersey, driving to Bethlehem or Allentown, or driving to Delaware or the suburbs to get vaccinations. We just need to meet people in every location. Cities small and large around the country have already implemented drive-through sites. New York, Chicago, LA, they have drive-through sites, huge drive-through sites, and they have also walkable neighborhood locations. They're doing it in every possible way. And by the way, New York City, I would venture to say they have less than 50% of the people have cars there. There's no reason why Philadelphia should be behind these other cities when we have people ready to figure this out. Lincoln Financial Field is ready to do this, and shame on us if we don't execute a plan that includes our largest facilities with most experienced people running these massive events. And speaking with the businesses, unions, churches, and other organizations, there's no shortage of people who want to help. Everyone wants to help, everyone, which is pretty amazing. We all deserve, of course, an explanation at tomorrow's hearing as to what happened and how people were impacted. But we have to keep our eye on the ball here and find a way to ensure the city of Philadelphia, the 6th largest city in the United States, has a mass vaccination plan in place that is customer-focused, equitable, operationally achievable. Because if we don't start fixing this now, people will suffer, and we don't have any time left to allow that. But this is not just about Commissioner Farley. He shouldn't be out on a limb. We're all on the hook with him, because I can tell you the hundreds of people calling me and emailing me do not make distinctions between Commissioner Farley, Mayor Kenny, President Biden, state legislators, or any member of council. They're blaming me. Philadelphians are anxious and stressed beyond belief. I've never seen anything like this, and they just want these vaccinations given out safely and equitably. They want these vaccines, and they want to trust us. It's our job to work with the administration now to help regain that trust, or we'll do more damage in the long run. I know we can't afford to make the same mistakes with Philly fighting COVID again, so we have to take a minute and figure out how we got it at this point. But everyone is watching us, local, regional, national, and they're looking to us for some real leadership. Soon the number of vaccines will increase, and Philadelphia has to be ready. We, City Council, the administration, universities, stadiums, businesses, pharmacies, every organization who can step up right now needs to do so. And we have to do everything we can to get these vaccinations into the arms of our residents. So I'm publicly raising my hand to offer support to the administration. And I hope everyone here will do the same. We can get this done if we come together now, work as a team, and protect Philadelphia and save lives. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you. I concur we must stay focused. We really have to figure out a way to get this done. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start by paying homage to two angels who recently made their heavenly transition. The first, Mr. President, is Dr. Ruth C. McGardis. Her name will be familiar to some because of her activism, community organizing in Northwest Philadelphia. But on this past weekend, the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, of which I am a proud member, held our Omega service for our late soror President, Dr. Ruth C. McGardis. I want to say to her family, thank you for sharing her, and the contributions that she made to our sisterhood were invaluable, and we will do our best to keep her legacy alive. I also, Mr. President, want to acknowledge another member of our Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated who made her transition, and that is the late, great Cicely Tyson. Cinema, Mr. President, was the platform that Cicely Tyson chose to use her inimitable gift and skill as an actress. Her tool to help shatter racial stereotypes and glass ceilings. She was the epitome of style, of grace, and faith. And most importantly, what I love and I appreciate Viola Davis, Taraji, along with Tyler Perry, noting about her, what made her different from others in Hollywood is that she was authentic to the core, that she never changed no matter what room you saw her in. She made us proud of our history, our culture, and our image. She taught us to never forget the strength of our mothers, fathers, and families, and that we can do anything together. She is a treasure that we will miss. And to be quite frank, Mr. President, I believe we are all simply better for having had the opportunity to observe her in action and be inspired by her greatness. Finally, Mr. President, I want to close with a message about home ownership to residents of the 9th Councilmanic District in particular, but to all residents of the city of Philadelphia. I got an email probably last week, late last week, Thursday in the evening, about someone saying to me, thank you, for in the midst of this pandemic, constantly keeping our eyes and focus on the need for home ownership. I thank our colleague, Councilwoman Brooks, for her resolution regarding the seniors is key. But I was reminded of that on Tuesday. I read an article by WHYY. It was written by a Taylor Allen. I'm not sure if she is Jake Blumgard's replacement, but I want to thank them for this article. And it was entitled "Growing Surge of Philly Homeowners Risk Foreclosure as Pandemic Continues." And the article highlighted the case of a working single mom with 2 kids who had lost her job as a home health aide because of the pandemic, and now she's struggling to pay her mortgage and could, in essence, lose her home. Now, according to the article, it stated that the latest available census data showed that about 13% of homeowners are behind on their mortgage in the Philadelphia metropolitan statistical area. That's what was referenced in the article. I cannot stress this enough, but because I was a staffer and I thought about Councilman member Bill Greenlee, those who were here during that time, I want us to note that this is a 4-alarm bell emergency crisis situation. For those of us who were in council when Councilwoman Marion Tasco led us, when we were working on that issue, it feels like deja vu all over again, and that is because it is. We are now here in Philadelphia approaching great recession levels of loans that are being past due. Now, we all know that the Black working class, and in Black working class neighborhoods in particular, they took a strong hit during the Great Recession, in part because they were heavily targeted by subprime lenders. And it looks like history could repeat itself if we don't begin to take more proactive measures. I'm going to mention some of those, but I want to take this moment to explain why home ownership, and particularly home ownership for Black people and people of color, is so vital. And I've got to say this, and to that group who participated last week, no, I am not anti-renter. And with that being said, I want to firmly note for the record that I believe that a neighborhood must have a healthy mix of homeowners and renters. So when we read these new documents coming from academicians about we need to reimagine, what single family dwellings and household look like, I want us to make sure that we're focusing on what they really mean when they say what they say. Now, we know we just flipped from being majority homeowner in our city. Home ownership definitely, outweighed renters, but we just flipped. And for me personally, I know what home ownership and my family did for me and my own personal success. And so when families like mine, and it's important, Philadelphia, if you're listening to this, I'm not talking about sort of politicals and government people. I'm talking about those people who are sending those emails, those of you who participated in that meeting that we had last week. Everybody has a story like this, but I need you to just get that many of us who are here, we know it too. When my mother got pregnant with me, when she was 15, and my grandparents decided that they were going to make a move, and my family did what folks would joke about and say moved on up like the Jeffersons, my grandparents weren't rich. Daddy was a Navy veteran, and my grandmother was a domestic worker. And yes, I'm saying it for those of you who were on that call on Thursday, because I want you to know I can say it publicly because it is real. Despite their working class wages, and despite redlining, and despite racial restrictive covenants, my grandparents were able to purchase a home, and guess what? The asset was theirs. Sherelle, how do you know? Because I went to the drugstore at 19th and Cheltenham to go get the money orders because they weren't banked. And that's what she would write out every month to pay the bills. But they were ever able to achieve that slice of the American dream. Their home was also a source of pride because it was proof to the world that they had achieved what I like to call some sense of self-sufficiency. And the neighborhood that I grew up in, and it still is, not just a success of home ownership, a story of home ownership, but of African Americans and other people of color owning homes. So some of the areas in my district have a home ownership rate that is well above even the 70 percentile, but they were people of color and are people of color. So I want you to know that there's always a but. It seems like ever since neighborhoods like Mount Airy. Even though people are trying to redefine you now as Cedarbrook and Wadsworth and everything but what your neighborhood was called when you bought your house in the 60s and the 70s, this neighborhood became a success because of Black home ownership, and there were larger forces at play that they have tried and continue to try to take it away. Crack in the 80s, the winnowing of government supports in the 90s, the predatory lending of the 2000s, and even more recently, there have been stories about how Black homeowners, they refinance less, they're paying more for their mortgages, they're facing appraisal gaps, meaning their homes is appraised for less than it's actually worth. Many of these residents, they've managed to hold on to their homes, but all of these negative forces are at play. And it comes with a cost. You've held on to your homes, but your financial situations have become more precarious. We now have a situation where because these folks are retired and they're living on a fixed income, and the lady just said the other day, you know, she missed one payment, just one payment. Sherelle, I could lose my house to foreclosure. We haven't had enough money. I'm talking about disposable income. Folks to maintain their houses, and so now their children are viewing their property as more of a liability instead of an asset. And of course, we still have predatory lending going on, but this time we know it's coming in a different form, reverse mortgages, which we've been seeing an uptick in origination since the pandemic began. Where does this leave us? Thankfully to you, organizations like Philadelphia Legal Assistance, Community Legal Services, Senior Law, that are doing everything that they can to keep homeowners in their homes. I want to thank the state for their pandemic mortgage assistance program funded by the federal CARES. I know you've got a rental and a utility assistance plan that you're trying to get moving. Thank you for that. And of course, there is the National Foreclosure Moratorium on federally backed loans, which the Biden-Harris administration is looking to extend from March 31st to September the 30th. President Joe Biden's America Rescue Plan has also proposed funding to assist small landlords, renters, and people experiencing homelessness. And at the state level, I still hear you screaming, Michelle Lewis from Northwest Counseling Services, the Homeowners Emergency Mortgage Assistance Program, HEMAP, it is doing the best it can, but it was not set up to deal with the once-in-a-generation pandemic. Housing advocates are asking for the creation of a COVID housing assistance fund to allow direct financial assistance to homeowners at the local level. And before the pandemic, proud of our colleagues, you know, funding BSRP, Philly First Home, Restore, Repair, Renew, and during the pandemic, thanking our colleagues for taking the lead on the Emergency Housing Protection Act. It went a long way to help us address some of the immediate challenges created by the fallout from COVID-19. All of these are good and necessary ideas, and I know we're going to continue to be front and center in advocating for them, because we know what happens if we're not proactive when it comes to protecting homeowners. We saw it all too well in the aftermath of the Great Recession, when they told us the market will correct itself, and Harrisburg preempted our legislation. I fear if we don't act proactively and we don't act now, and then the fallout from this pandemic, it could be even worse. I fear that our neighborhoods, and I want every Philadelphian, I want you to think about this. I don't want our neighborhoods to become filled with investor-owned rental properties. And then the dream of home ownership could get further and further out of reach to more and more renters. We cannot and should not let this happen. We must maintain that healthy balance of homeowners and renters, especially when you see how much people are paying the rent. They're paying mortgages triple time that they're paying for in rent. We must protect those who already own a home, assist those who one day want to own a home, and avoid another Great Recession housing collapse. But it's going to take a collective effort, and we must start now. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Ownership. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I rise to thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, for your guidance on the Police Oversight Commission that we submitted today. but also on the input from many, many stakeholders, ranging from power to the FOP, ranging from the administration to the Guardian Civic League, who gave us insight on this legislation. I want to thank my colleagues for working with my staffer, Samantha Williams, to put forth what I believe is a beginning discussion about the final leg of the race towards the establishment of this commission. We welcome, look forward to, encourage during the hearings, insight and analysis as to how this commission should finally be structured. A good colleague of ours, Marion Tasco, said, act in haste and repent in your leisure. Yes, she did. So we want to take our time, get it right, so that we can do three things. One, restore confidence of the public that they can get a fair hearing about police misconduct. Number two, establish a trust and better working relationship with police-civilian interaction. And then finally, reduce the high cost and burden when we get it wrong as a city due to lawsuits. So thank you for the co-sponsorships, but also today, we introduced two other resolutions that, if you look at it, are parts of this. One, we want to evaluate the witness relocation process in the city of Philadelphia. Some of my colleagues are here when we increase the amount of money dedicated for witness relocation. There is no justice without witnesses.
That's right.
In our analysis of the last 100 shooters, and I think the stakeholders in that process too, they didn't point fingers, they pointed at the problem. We realize that we're going in the right direction, but not fast enough. The number one issue for the poor closure rate of cases is the lack of reliability of witnesses. Well, if you have to live on the same block that the accused that may have killed a relative of yours is, go to the same corner store, some go to the same schools and churches, and then testify bravely about what you saw, what you know, you put your own life at risk. So we want to take a look at how we can make it easier to have justice and then have safety to accompany. And then finally, which disturbs me to no end, is that on your worst day, when a loved one of yours may have been tragically gunned down, it is the victim's family's responsibility to clean the crime scene. Many people do not know that there is money at the state to do that. We want to make sure that people understand that that is available, but it is often not enough. And I could not imagine, I could not conceive of that responsibility on what would be one of my worst days. So we want to look at all of these things to try to, in the Committee of Public Safety, create that balance that we see in the symbol of justice, the two scales. One, to protect the accused rights, but also the responsibility of getting justice for the victims. And I thank you again. This is not parades. This is not ribbon cuttings and shovels for skyscrapers, but this is an essential part of our job. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I wanted to thank all of those who provided public comment in support of Resolution 2100. regarding the 29th Annual African American Children's Book Fair. This year, the book fair will be held virtually on Saturday, February 6th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the African American Children's Book Fair is one of the oldest and largest single-day events for diverse children's books in the country. So I wanted to thank Vanessa Lloyd Scambati for her tireless work and dedication to bringing literacy and the love of books to all of our children. And you can follow the African American Children's Book Fair and sign up to attend the virtual event on Twitter at AAC Book Fair. Again, that's AAC Book Fair. Please join them on Saturday, February 6th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. I know that my children and I will also be joining virtually. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gill.
Thank you very much, Council President. On Monday, 9,000 school staff are scheduled for the return to school. Children are scheduled in on February 22nd. But Monday is a callback for about 9,000 educators, school staff. That includes teachers, principals, maintenance workers, cafeteria workers who are being called in. All of us I know on this council body is invested in a school reopening that is safe, that is responsible, and that must be state of the art. There is no other option given the pandemic. There is no other option given the consequences that are borne by vulnerable Black and Brown communities. And there is no other option given the uncertainty of the months ahead. When a quarter of our elementary schools have no functioning mechanical ventilation system, which in itself is appalling, and clear evidence of how much we are willing to tolerate abusive conditions for tens of thousands of young people, we must ensure that the reopening of school meets the highest standards of building quality, that we ensure the public trust, and that engages with the workforce of the district itself. The district has put in $65 million in new renovations, into buildings, and into buying up personal protective equipment. And I want to make it clear that in our tour of buildings and in conversations that I've had with some of the principals and other educators around the district, some schools have probably never looked better. But this does not mean that the condition of some buildings should offset the reality that too many others are left behind, and that the district is in desperate need of clear protocols around testing, what to do around outbreaks. It needs a better communication plan. The Biden administration has proposed a 100-day rollout to the reopening of schools nationally. The rollout and the delay gives time for the Biden administration to see several things. One, what is happening with the case counts and the spread of dangerous new variants. Two, it talks about the progress of our vaccine rollout and how teachers, staff, families can be vaccinated, included as we move through the months ahead. Three, the passage of federal relief that would allow for mass testing and other safety measures. And finally, warmer weather could potentially offer access to fresh air through open windows and outdoor classrooms. We are dealing with a number of issues, and I think we should make them clear. The governor needs to do more here. He should have made clear about the vaccination process. 45% of our school staff live outside of the city. This is a shared effort among counties to vaccinate and to prioritize educators and many other school staff who are in buildings, whether they are working in the boiler rooms, whether they are cleaning for the schools, whether they are the school nurses or paraprofessionals who are assisting in the classrooms. This is a shared effort among all our counties. It is difficult to have Philadelphia bear the brunt of having to use its precious vaccine supply when so many people need to see it as a county-wide, 5-county regional effort. Two, the district really does need to have testing protocols in place. We have building conditions, they're very serious. In the schools without functioning ventilation systems, the fans are simply inadequate. Chicago School District, for example, purchased 20,000 air purification systems when there were problems with the mechanical ventilation. The district has to step up. The district also needs to have clear testing protocols in place. We should be engaging with CHOP to see what their options are for both testing, vaccinations, and other types of support for all district staff and for students and families as we go in there. This is going to be a difficult process. And I do believe that the next 48 hours up until Monday are going to be critical. But I do urge that our colleagues take this very seriously. We cannot afford another situation where we've had botched efforts. This is the third time the district has tried to reopen. We know what was needed. We knew what was needed in August. We know what was needed in November when they wanted to open. And here we are in February, and it still feels like it's a struggle. I also want to emphasize that this is not just about the school district of Philadelphia. Every single school district is struggling right now. Our push to reopen is early compared to other large systems comparable to our size. And we need to be thoughtful, we need to be deliberate, and we need to recognize that all of us are driven by the needs of children and their families, the struggle, the realities of young people, the pain and trauma that they're going through on their own right now are apparent and are very painful to all of us. There is no substitute for in-person learning. But in a pandemic, we need to make sure that the process that we go through supports the public trust, ensures a responsible return to school, and frankly, that lifts the standards so that it's not just that we're doing a fly-by-night or we're sticking fans into windows and passing it off. It does need to be state-of-the-art. There are standards, there is support, and from the Biden administration, it appears that help is on the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to, well, first I just want to follow up on my colleague, Councilman Gim's remarks, because I want to make it clear that I think that all members of this body are taking this very, very seriously. I know that when I saw the fans myself, I was appalled, I would say. It's not something that any of us would have imagined would be the standard for our children, our educators, our support staff. I think that the plan is full of a lot of holes, and I have a great deal of concern regarding what folks are being asked to return to. And we want our kids back in school. We want everyone back in school as quickly as possible, but it has to be done right. It has to be done in a way that's not going to put people's health in jeopardy. And so I think I join all of my colleagues in saying that we all take this very seriously and that we don't want to lose this opportunity to make sure that everyone is going to be safe returning to our school buildings. Beyond that, I just wanted to remind everyone that we are going to be having a hearing tomorrow regarding the city's the Philly fighting COVID debacle, which happened, in the last couple of weeks. I want to invite all of my colleagues to attend and to participate. I know that there have been a number of my colleagues that have already submitted questions to the administration and should have received a lot of those questions back. If you have not received those questions back, please let us know so that we can try to be helpful in that regard, and also make sure that they get on the record for tomorrow. And the hearing will be tomorrow at 1 o'clock for the listening audience. We encourage you to participate and to, if you would like to testify, you are more than able to testify. That is one of the functions of council. And so we want to invite you to participate as well and be a part of something that is going to be just really critical to making sure people know and understand exactly what happened. And the one thing I do also want to just slightly differ with my colleague, Councilman Dom, who spoke on this matter earlier. And I get it. We've all been blamed, for what has happened here in the city of Philadelphia. We've all sort of taken a hit on this particular matter. But I believe that it's my job as a chairman of this committee to make sure that we get the record straight, that the Committee on Health and Human Services does not write contracts, does not execute contracts, does not vet contracts. That is the job of the Kenney administration, always has been, and until further notice, really always will be. And so this is something that he needs to recognize, and we intend to certainly ask the administration some very difficult questions tomorrow. We hope that they come. We hope that everything will be very cordial. There's no intention to be hostile in any way, shape, or form. The most important thing is to build the trust, gain the trust of the public. And the most important way that you can do that is by making sure that they know exactly what happened and who the responsible parties are. So I look forward to having that conversation tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I will be brief. I want to thank my colleagues for their work and their speeches on a number of issues very important to the citizens of Philadelphia, from issues with vaccinations, from issues with housing, issues with our senior or seasoned population, to police oversight, as well as school reopening. But one issue I want to just raise is an issue I saw in today's paper, something I've been following quite a bit in reference to our hospitality industry. Yesterday, it was reported from the mayor's office that hotel reservations were 30% down. Well, actually, I'm sorry, we only had 30% hotel room rate last year, compared to being about 90% the year prior. That's a significant drop. Now, we know this is a drop based on the impact of the pandemic, but my concern is our economy is very dependent on the hospitality industry. We all can remember back in the early 90s, when Governor Rendell was mayor, and they created the Greater Philadelphia Marketing Tourism Committee, now known as Visit Philadelphia, as well as the growth and the expansion of the Convention Center Authority and Convention Center, and all of the various agencies like the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau, and all the entities that work on growing our economy. And we've made significant strides in really having a very robust hospitality industry. My concern is that there's a lot of jobs for citizens in the city of Philadelphia that are dependent upon this industry. And we need to make sure that if we are able to receive resources from the Biden administration, and that comes to the city of Philadelphia, that we are doing all that we can to stay competitive. Some of my colleagues know I talked about how last year I saw other cities like Baltimore, and even in our region, Bucks County and Delaware County, and the state of Delaware, are actively trying to attract people back to their region to spend money and to do things in their jurisdiction. Now, it is the wintertime, but we are going to be coming out of the wintertime, going into spring very shortly. And it's going to be very important upon the city of Philadelphia to make sure we are focusing on being competitive. My concern is that when we have conventions and other activities in our city, they're booked years out. And we need to make sure that we're doing all that we can to promote the city of Philadelphia so we can bring those jobs back. Looking at November of 2019 compared to November of 2020, we lost about 66% of the jobs in that area in hospitality. And so that's a lot of jobs and employ a lot of people, from members of Unite Here, but also all of the restaurant workers and other entities and other businesses that are dependent on a robust hospitality and travel industry. So as we are coming through this winter and going to the spring and getting ready for our budget season, and hopefully we'll receive some dollars from the federal government to help us in our own recovery, that we focus on being competitive as a city to bring back this industry and employ so many of our residents and constituents in our city, and will help our economy get back to where it was prior to the pandemic. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. That appears to be the conclusion of speeches on behalf of the minority and majority. So with that, Chair recognizes Councilman Jones for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Council stand adjourned until Thursday, February 11th, 2021 at 10 a.m.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Council stand adjourned until Thursday, February 11th, 2021 at 10 a.m. All in favor will indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. Again, hearing tomorrow, Friday, 1 o'clock, on Committee on Health and Human Services to discuss the issue with respect to vaccinations and the policy of the city of Philadelphia and a host of other things, I'm quite sure.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Be safe.
All right, you were just listening to Philadelphia City Council Live, Philadelphia City Council Live, or a live gavel-to-gavel session of the Philadelphia City Council meeting of the whole. It sounded like a busy session of Philadelphia City Council, focused on a number of really important topics and issues. We'll go over those. I'm just going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. We have time to talk. We have time to talk about it, time to talk about what you just heard. Basically, Philadelphia City Council Live, if the council leaves a little early, gives us some time here during our Thursday edition of Reality Check. That's the extension of that public comment period where we can freestyle a little bit and express what's on our minds regarding what was just discussed in Philadelphia City Council. So first, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, phone lines are open at 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900, 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Celebrating Black history all year long. Fannie Lou Hamer.
We are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Philadelphia, independent Black media.
Hi, this is John.
Hi, this is Juanita, owners of JD's Auto Body and Painting. We're located at 6300 Wayne Avenue, right there at the intersection of Wayne and Washington Lane.
We really like to thank all you WURD listeners for the support that you've given our business, and we really hope to see you in the future.
JD, tell them about our products and services we have.
We have a new state-of-the-art paint shop along with our body shop and detail shop. We can help you with the dents and scratches from the winter season.
Come to JD's Auto Body and Painting. Come on out and check us out. We're still honoring that WURD 10% discount. Give us a call, 215-848-5949. Again, 215-848-5949.
Thanks again for supporting our business. We really appreciate you.
See you at JD's Auto Body and Painting.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
The Sports Segment. Tune in to Wake Up with WURD, Mondays as Solomon Jones discusses all things sports with Shamar Woods, Director of Digital Sports for The Inquirer. Every Monday on Wake Up with WURD, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Hey, WURD
WURD family. Our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
Celebrate Black History Month at the virtual 29th Annual African American Children's Book Fair on Saturday, February 6th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. To register, go to the African American Children's Book Project.org. The free event will feature authors and illustrators bringing the pages of their books to life with panels and readings. For more information, call 215-878-BOOK. Remember, a book opens up a world of opportunities.
Tune in every Saturday at 6 p.m. to Recovery Talk 101 with your host, Rick Ford, talking about addiction, treatment, and recovery. Right here on WURD Radio. The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media. Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on WURD Radio and WURDRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Phone lines are open. We're transitioning into Reality Check. Reality Check. Post City Council Live, we just heard a live gavel-to-gavel session of the Philadelphia City Council that was pretty much about 2 hours on the mark. 2 hours they just convened. They adjourned. They had convened and then they adjourned about a few moments ago. Go to phlcouncil.com for more information. Also, taking advantage of that Philadelphia City Council website and just expanding that lesson, that education on how to better access Philadelphia City Council, because this is very important, because there were actually several very important topics, several very important pieces of legislation that were discussed in City Council today. Not that isn't the case on a normal whole session of Philadelphia City Council, but it's really important to keep track of what they're up to. I really highly, once again, recommend go to phlcouncil.com. That's the larger, the central Philadelphia City Council website. So that's one stop. Another stop is phila.legistar.com, phila.legistar.com. And want to give a big thanks, a big shout out to Tanya Bell, listener, who was watching us here on Philadelphia City Council Live on WURD TV on Facebook Live. And she actually, in the Facebook comments section, she put a link. She texted a link to phila.legistar.com in the Facebook comment section. It's a very important section to go to keep track of all those build numbers, because that's been a constant complaint. When I first was exposed to Philadelphia City Council, I did not know. I was just we hear all these numbers, these build numbers. I knew that you could go to Legistar and look for them, but I wasn't really at the very onset. I wasn't familiar with the process, so it's a learning curve, obviously, and but I'm getting better at it, and so while I'm getting better at it, it's my obligation, especially since I'm anchoring City Council Live, and so I take it very seriously. I think it's a huge responsibility for me. Everything that I know, particularly in my role as anchor of Philadelphia City Council Live, you should know. So as I've become more familiar with navigating Philadelphia City Council, I'm just going to keep reminding myself and keep pushing myself to make sure you know the exact same information. So phila.legistar.com. Thank you, Tanya, for doing that. And one other place to go to as well, Philadelphia City Council's social media team is getting much better at this. I have noticed. Go to @PHLCouncil, @PHLCouncil on Twitter. When you go to twitter.com @PHLCouncil, a lot of people use Twitter. In fact, the very important people and the influencers and the people that are making the news. They're on Twitter. They're not on Instagram. They're on Twitter. Yeah, they go on Instagram to have fun every now and then and put photos and stuff up. But if you want to get real information and the sharing, the distribution of critical information, I'm telling you, you want to be on Twitter.com. Twitter.com it's not on TikTok. You know, TikTok is when they're taking a break and you know they want to have a little fun and they want to show that that they can be fun people, they can hang out too. But like, I mean, I'm not a fan of social media, period. But the big, like, a lot of serious exchange of ideas and information and conversation in real time is happening at Twitter.com. So you don't want to miss out on that. That's where you want to follow. Also, your city council members. All Philadelphia city council members have active Twitter accounts. Some are more active than others, but they're constantly updating those Twitter accounts and also having conversation directly. Sometimes they're having conversation directly with me. Sometimes I'll tag them about a particular news item or a bill or something I heard on this program, Reality Check, and I'll tag them, I'll tweet them, and they'll respond back to me. So, which, you know, goes to show. So they're following the members themselves, and they have staff following those accounts. So at phlcouncil.com, definitely am noticing, want to give another shout to the Philadelphia City Council social media team because they're getting better at this. Because that was one thing I had a gripe about. You know, people would be calling out introduced bills or resolutions, and to me, if you're on the Philadelphia Council's social media team, it's your job to, in real time, tweet those out. They're doing a much better job of that now. I'm noticing, like, you know, I got like a whole list of resolutions that were tweeted out. I've noticed that in the past couple of sessions, they've been tweeting out as much of all those resolutions and sharing them at phlcouncil.com, at phlcouncil. That's on Twitter.com. So constantly go there because then they'll list the resolution or bill that was just introduced or announced during a live session and link directly to that bill so you have an opportunity to read it. So highly recommend, you know, when you're going through, when you're listening to City Council Live, particularly since people are, you know, kind of stationary when they're doing it. A lot of folks watching us on WURD TV. So I'm assuming that as you're watching us and listening to us on WURD TV, you have access to a computer, to a laptop. You know, have right beside you, either on a tablet or in another window, in another frame on your laptop in another browser, phlcouncil.com, philly.legistar.com, and then go on Twitter and go to @phlcouncil. So, you know, and because that's what I'm doing. And so we're all together, we're all armed with all of the information platforms dealing with Philadelphia City Council, and you're keeping track of everything they're discussing during those Philadelphia City Council live sessions. It is absolutely crucial that we all do that. And keep on me, definitely keep on me. Let me know what you'd like to see or like to hear on City Council Live, because it's just the Philadelphia City Council and how City Hall operates, that these are all important, crucial functions of not just government, but functions of a civil society. A society breaks down without government. If you don't have government, if you don't have policymakers, if you don't have institutions like a legislature, it all falls apart, everyone. It all falls apart. And you can, you know, and getting more involved in and being more tapped into a legislature, a local or state legislature or federal legislature, the more you're tapped in, the better you make it, the better it becomes for your community. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. Here on Reality Check, we have phone lines open. Phone lines are going to be open for the full hour, for the rest of this hour, until we hit the 1 o'clock mark, which will take us into the source. But for now, we have a wide open noon hour for open phone lines. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Something else that sort of I noticed. Oh, and by the way, too, yeah, I'm noticing folks here on Facebook Live. Before we get into some of my comments, while we're waiting on anyone who wants to call and join in and react to or respond to what was just discussed in City Council and Philadelphia City Council. Yeah, appreciate comments from folks who are watching us on WURD TV. Well, good afternoon now to Diane Fassett, Good afternoon to you, Malcolm White, always watching, listening from West Mount area. Really appreciate you. Arlene Wright. What's she saying? Where is Developer Doll, third Council Magic District? I don't know what that means, but Lisa Marie Howes, good afternoon. Nasir Butler, good afternoon. Cynthia Adams, good afternoon from St. Petersburg, Florida. That's what's up. Okay, appreciate it. Please stay safe down there. Florida's rough. Yeah, it's just like between pandemic and everything else, it's just rough down there. But I'm not going to be going back anytime soon. Raphael Suleiman, good afternoon to you. Joey Dixon, peace, and Jazz back at you. Good afternoon, Shirley J. Carter. Joseph Simmons, Charles, you need to do a better job on educating your listeners about how to access the council members digitally. Stop assuming that everyone knows how to do that. I guess you just don't listen to the program on a regular basis, Joseph, because we do just that, and we just had an additional session of endeavoring to help people access the city council and its members digitally. All right. So, and no, Joseph Simmons, there should not be an open comment period during council where anyone and everyone can speak on anything they want for 3 minutes. That's what this platform, WURD, Talk Radio, is for. Business is getting done in the council, in the legislature. Now, this is not me caping for or defending city council in any way. This is just the way these systems are set up. That is doing that, opening up the comment period to just talk about anything that's off agenda is, you know, you might as well not do it at all because then that's just chaotic. That's just chaos. So no, I mean, there's specific pieces of legislation on very important matters that members of council are introducing and proposing. Some of what they're proposing or introducing you will agree with. Some of what they're proposing and introducing you won't agree with. So you provide public comment. There is a section during that moment. We can't just suddenly fill up the public comment period with like 100, 200 people ranting on about whatever. That's just that's not the way that works. You know, for example, before I bring on the next call, for example, we had a fairly healthy public comment period today. So I was very pleased to hear that. I did notice one thing that I'm going to say this, and you know, feel free to snap back or push back against me for saying this. There was a very important resolution that passed today on zoning. It was resolution 210038, you know, authorizing the creation of a zoning code review commission to evaluate and recommend improvements to Philadelphia's zoning code. Black folks are the hardest hit, are the most disproportionately impacted by zoning codes. I mean, that's our issue. That's what, if there is a black issue, it's zoning. It's a very complex issue. It's very difficult to understand and very difficult to translate at times, but we all know how much zoning has been weaponized against us throughout the years. There were no black voices that I heard providing public comment on 210038. None. I heard like 3 or 4. It sounded like members of the Caucasian persuasion giving comment and even talking about how zoning, you know, zoning weaponized creates the climate for rampant destructive gentrification. I heard no black voice. I heard black voices on, you know, honoring, you know, the book fair and honoring Alpha Kappa Alpha, you know, so I heard, you know, black voices on that. I didn't hear anything, and that's cool. That's great. But, you know, that's an epic failure of community leadership, of black elected leadership, black community organizations, black churches. You should be rallying black voices and black residents around providing input on something as serious and crucial as zoning. You know, that's where that civic literacy piece and that public policy literacy piece, we have got to get better at that. That's something that, you know, I mean, that's a lifetime cause for me, because then we miss things like that. And so we miss being involved in things like that. And I understand zoning it's very difficult to unpack. It is. And so, you know, a lot of these issues are very difficult and very complex and difficult to unpack. You know, that's what we're here for. But, you know, and I can't do everything. I can't watch everything. But, you know, there are community organizations. There are people out there running organizations. so-called, black organizations. It's their job. This is what they're not just there to be doing fundraisers and galas and collecting money from you so they can just, maintain their salaries for them and their staff. They're supposed to be, calling things out like this and demanding that the community sign up for events like public comment during a city council session and give the council an earful on, hey, this is why Black Philly needs a change in zoning codes. I noticed it. I'm just saying I noticed it. And you know what? Actually, I had 2 other people notice it who were texting me. They were like, that's interesting. So yeah, I'm just saying, that's why these public comment periods, that's why they're so important, so it passed. I think overall, theoretically, it's a good thing. Yeah, we do need a zoning code review commission. But when that commission is created, we need to make sure we're participating on that commission. So we need to make sure our voices are the most prominent in that commission and on those issues. Let me go to Maurice out of Southwest, who's calling in for a reality check. Maurice?
How you doing, Charles?
Hey, what's happening?
Let me tell you something. The reason you don't hear too many black people talking about zoning because that's not even on our top 10 list. I mean, it's on there, but it's not on our top 10. We got too many problems in this city to be worried about zoning right now. But listen, I understand.
Yeah, but I hear you. I know it's one of those long game issues, but it is a top priority. It becomes a top priority when people get displaced from gentrification.
I hear it's not a top priority. All right. Let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
I think that whole city council, I've been watching city council for years, and it's a sham, man. That when you seen Cheryl Parker up there, what in the hell was she talking about? She's talking about Hollywood. She was to so many different directions. I was trying to keep notes to see if there was anything that was relevant in what she was talking about.
In fact, I kept notes for you and everyone else. Go to #CityCouncilLive if you can on Twitter, Maurice, and everybody out there. She was talking about home ownership, about black home ownership.
Yeah, but when you were living in the poorest city in the nation, ain't nobody got no money to buy no home. In my neighborhood, it's only Section 8 and renting and rooms. I haven't seen a new homeowner in years in my neighborhood. But see, she live up in the Northwest. People up there and make a higher salary. They can buy homes. We don't buy no homes around here.
I can see where she's coming. Well, yeah, keep on going, Maurice. And I'll
I'm just saying, I understand your perspective, where you coming from, but I got to come from my level. And I got to talk about what I see when I walk out my door. I don't see city council doing nothing. I haven't seen no improvement in my neighborhood. My neighborhood, we got the most murders. Now, we got one of the most expensive camera systems in the nation. They spent $10 million on that camera system. I haven't heard them mention it once.
Yeah.
Why isn't they using it? But they used it on the white boy, though, because they zoomed in on his sneakers, and we could tell what brand he was wearing. But I can even tell his sneakers, his socks were dirty, okay? Then let's go to Cindy Bass. She claimed she's been on an apology tour all week, trying to say that it's not her fault, it's not their fault. Well, her, Helen Gim, and Bobby Heenan interviewed the guy. If you interviewed him, it's your fault. If you want to blame somebody about what happened with that COVID thing down at the convention center, all they got to do is look in the mirror. See, I
mean, he did make a presentation before city council, so
yeah, I don't want to hear that. I can see.
Yeah, I mean, he did. I don't understand why city council. Some folks in city council are acting like they didn't know about Philly fighting COVID and this young white dude, until all this stuff dropped. That's just not the case.
What gets me, the problem was when she was on her apology tour, you just let them talk. And she said, I know Miss Sanford for a long time. We worked together. Well, damn it, if that's your girl, then she should have got the hookup if anybody got the hookup.
Yeah.
She's a professional. They didn't even look at the man's resume. This is what I'm trying to say. They didn't even look at his resume to see was he qualified. They just went by the wink and the nod. So, and I want to close with this. I understand that a lot of people are supposed to participate in calling in and giving their opinion about city council. But we've been doing it for years. And with this new Zoom system, I don't even know if they're even paying attention. When people call, they could be doing computer games, looking at their shopping list. All I want to know is what I see them do. I don't care what they say. I want to see their actions. Now, they got this big meeting tomorrow. Come on, man.
Yeah.
How they going to judge themselves?
Yeah.
So you think about that, Charles. That's why people don't commit
thanks so
college.
much. No, thank you, Maurice. Thanks for calling in. And speaking of that real quick, Maurice, and thanks for mentioning that. Committee on Public Health and Human Services and City Council tomorrow, they have a hearing at 1 p.m. So you want to go to phlcouncil.com to watch it. You can watch it live, particularly if you have Xfinity Channel 64, I believe it is, and Fios Channel 40. But just go to phlcouncil.com and then click on Watch Council. You can give testimony for this hearing. You have to sign up for that by 3 p.m. today. So you want to call 267, here, take your pen and pad out, 267-225-1668, or send an email to sabrina.aponte. That's sabrina.aponte@phila.gov. You have to do that by 3 p.m. today. You've got a little under 3 hours to do this. Leave your full name, a callback telephone number, and identify, you're going to be talking about, there's a hearing tomorrow on 200520, a resolution authorizing the Committee on Health and Human Services to hold hearings to evaluate the City of Philly's plan for distributing, tracking, and otherwise managing the rollout of COVID-19 vaccine, right? And then there's 210041, which is another resolution which authorizes this committee to hold hearings to investigate Philly fighting COVID's contract with the city. And that's what this hearing tomorrow is about. Tomorrow, Friday at 1 p.m. You can provide comment and give counsel an earful on it. So I have some thoughts with respect to what Maurice was saying. I'll say them in a moment. But also don't forget, in order to support efforts like these and to support institutions, weekly institutions like City Council Live, and to give us the ability to deliver this very critical content and information to you, become a 4WURD member today, right? That's all it takes is going to wordradio.com/4WURD and renewing or signing up for your 4WURD membership today. You get a number of other perks and benefits as well with 4WURD membership, not just being a part of a major family and a major institution, and a league of concerned community members, but also you get discounts, you get VIP invitations, you get access to special events, you get WURD swag, you get the WordPress print newsletter delivered to your home. So it's all kinds of things that come along with, and you also get to support Black businesses in the city or support incubating and growing them. All that's done through that 4WURD membership, wordradio.com/4WURD. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. So Maurice, I think Maurice makes some good points, and you have to hold City Council to account. There's a reckoning here with this scandal. It's a scandal. I need to emphasize that it's not a controversy. It's a scandal over Philly fighting COVID, and we need to explore it more. We need to find out exactly what happened and how they got this contract. And it's not just going to take the firing of the deputy health director, or deputy health commissioner. I mean, that goes all the way to the top particularly at the public health department, for what transpired with Philly fighting COVID. And City Council there's a reckoning here for City Council too, because yes, Marisa is right. This Philly fighting COVID made presentations. They talked to members of the City Council. That's why you notice a few City Council members were a bit quiet during that very emotional session last week. There were a few City Council members that didn't have anything to say and were a bit quiet. And there were some that did say things, but then you have to ask, like, okay, well, when did you, apparently, according to news reports, he made presentations before members of council and before City Council. So where were you? And why didn't you question anything then? And when it was time for vaccine distribution, particularly to Black neighborhoods and Latino neighborhoods in the city, why didn't you all just say, hey, listen, we don't want to hear about anyone else or any other contractor other than Black Doctors Consortium. They're ready. They've been in the community. They know what they're doing. They do it well. That's all we want to hear about as far as a contract for mass vaccine distribution. So I think we do need to keep on City Council about that. However, nothing wrong with Black people trying to achieve home ownership. And that was the point of, and also creating an environment for building wealth. And Maurice said one thing where he's like, well, I understand your perspective. You know what, like sometimes folks will be looking at me, don't let the the jacket and the shirt and the handkerchief and the light skin fool you, okay? So, I mean, I grew up in one of those low-income households that was owned by a black family in North Philly and Logan. I didn't grow up in Mount Airy. I didn't grow up on Lincoln Drive. I grew up in Logan on a block in a row house with 2 stories and a basement that would occasionally get flooded when it would rain hard, and I'd have to clean it out after I got a little older, on a block similar to a block that many people in Philadelphia grew up on, and the black folks there were working class, and they struggled to maintain ownership, and still to this day, struggling to maintain ownership of that home. And Philly has prided itself for a long time on black, low-income, working-class home ownership. We should be trying everything we can to maintain that, while at the same time, yes, appreciating and also protecting and providing opportunities for renters in the city, because not everyone can own a home at a certain point. Not everyone wants to own a home. Some people are like, you know what, I just want to keep it simple. I just want to just rent. I don't want to be dealing with a flooded basement or a back and front yard. And I just want to do it. Some people just want to rent. So that's just not everyone wants to own a home. Some people's like, I got a savings account. That's enough for it. I'm doing like little investment things on my little app, and I'm good. I'm good to go. I mean, I know people like that. We as a community, we really need to get into the habit. I mean, one of the things that we're not doing enough of, yes, zoning is a top priority issue. We got to walk and chew gum at the same time, because that's all about, that's all about wealth building and legacy building and establishing that, and providing that layer of economic protection for our community for generations to come. But see, we're not doing that. So, I mean, in large part, yes. I mean, it's predatory investors and, white people with money speculating and coming in our neighborhoods and buying up our houses and getting a lot of us displaced. Part of it's that. But the other part of it, too, is that we as a community, and we've been doing this for years, we're not organizing around teaching our children and our households, like, okay, hey, listen, we have this home. How do we maintain it? So you want a home of your own, or, this is what the churches, this is what the community organizations, this is what the civic groups and all those folks, we should be organizing and demanding, and also making sure that there's long-term financial legacy empowerment that's going on, to make sure that, like, when the vultures do come in, we've got like our own system set up to protect us from that kind of activity. But see, we've gotten out of that. We've fallen out of that, particularly we've gotten comfortable as a community over the past 50, 60 years. And so it's just like, it's all about like, we got to get out of the ghetto, and, we out of the ghetto, so we good. We moving on up, moving on. That's our thing. That's our model now. It's not about like collective community uplift but then, when things happen, when like, cops are shooting us, or when we get attacked, that's when we, suddenly knee-jerk reflex react, and then we come together as a community on those times. Okay, that's good, but we got to take those and I'm with Sherelle Parker on this. You got to take those proactive steps to prevent the kind of deep cratering losses that we as a community have been dealing with, especially during the recession. A quarter of the black middle class evaporated, just vanished during the recession. A quarter. And more is vanishing now. So there's nothing wrong with home ownership, and we shouldn't be discouraging ourselves from like mass home ownership, and also building wealth. That's how we're going to be able to get through this and get, it's that wealth legacy, wealth generation. It's the education. We keep talking about, okay, we don't want to go back to schools because of bad ventilation and things of that sort, and it's unsafe. We don't want to go back to schools until you fix the school system, until you make these school systems actually work for our kids so they can have a future. That's what we need to be talking about. That's the kind of conversation we need to be having. So it's that help. Remember, I've always said that the pillar foundations, I mean, for making us strong as we're going through the 21st century, health, wealth, and education. Health, wealth, education, the pillars. When you get those solid and you fight for those, everything else falls into place. Then you take care of all those other issues and challenges. Then you have that layer of protection that you need as a community, to keep the vultures and the demons and everybody else like at bay. You know, you've got your fort, you've erected your fort. We've erected our community fort. We don't have that. We don't have that right now. So, you know, we pass on issues like zoning or like home ownership or like, I mean, yes, they're complex topics and it's hard for people to keep track of them. And it's up to folks like me and others. And that's that epic failure of the black political class in a place like Philadelphia. It's incumbent upon them. If you are a black elected official, your priority should be taking care of and protecting black people. If that's not your priority, then you need to get out. You need not be elected. You need to stop playing. Get out of it. Like, get out, just go somewhere. Go get a job somewhere else. You know, even if you have constituents, half your district is white, your historical, cultural, personal, emotional obligation is to the black people. That's your priority. While you know, you can have ways to take care of your white constituents too, because you're an elected official and they pay for your paycheck too. But based on the kind of history we have and the kind of struggles we're going through, that's your top priority. And so that's the field, you know. So like if successful black political class would have had a bunch of black people calling in for public comment saying, hey, you know what? This zoning issue, this is how it hurts black folks, and we support 210038. That's an example. That's successful black political leadership and black civic community leadership. But obviously that wasn't the case. You know, despite the fact that zoning is a big deal issue in a place like Philadelphia. All right, let me go to George out of Center City, who's calling in for a reality check. George?
Charles, how you doing?
Hey, what's happening?
You know, Charles, you always given a good education, but you got to have students to have an education too. You know, everything you're saying is true, but you got to look at it like this here. And you answered your own question. You say 40, 50 years ago is different from now. The kids that grew up in those houses 40, 50 years ago got jobs, moved out, and didn't want to be there where their parents are at. So when their parents die, what's the first thing they do? They sell off the house. They get rid of it. The first thing they do, I ain't going back there. Now they all want to come back, but they can't afford to come back. So, you know, and Sherelle's talking about wealth, housing. The cheapest you can get a house is about $150,000, right? $150,000. And you're working at McDonald's, and then you leave McDonald's, and then you go clean house, whatever. You got to look at people's economics. Not to say that I sit around and count people's money, but I'm a realist. They can't afford the house, okay? And most people living in a house.
Yeah, I know. I get that point, but I don't think that shouldn't preclude her from having that discussion. I think she understands. I honestly do, George. I mean, if I disagree with Councilwoman Parker, I would disagree with her, and I would say that. I mean, that's how I am. But I don't think that there was anything wrong with her having that conversation or expressing that, and I think she understands that too.
Charles, please read through the. You got to understand these people, okay? When they say stuff, they say it for a reason. She's not looking out for little people. She's looking out for her leaders.
I didn't say she was looking out for little people or anything. I don't think it's anything wrong with her having that conversation.
Well, you talk about it. Really, it's offensive when you know people busting their behinds and trying to just pay rent, and you're going to sit up there talking about homeowners. She didn't even have the decency when they were getting out of rent.
But she said that there was. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Let me get off that.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I mean, we could. Like, that's just a waste of time talking on that. The next thing is, Charles, is that Maurice brought up a good thing. We have the best camera system in the world, not only in the United States, in the world. We put a lot of money into the camera system that we don't use when we have to use it. Now, all these killings, like I say, they ain't know who did it, but they ain't going to do nothing about it. Just like this, like the commissioner. Now she's making her rounds to all the white media. You know, sitting down, telling them about her year. And one thing I like about it, she's being very open and honest about Black Lives Matter. You know, she don't appreciate the fact that, you know, people putting down cops is doing their job, doing the best they can with what they got. You know, she don't appreciate people sitting up there talking about defunding the police. She's telling white folks, but she don't appreciate what they like. Like, she believes in crowd control. Everything that you're fighting for and don't, you know, think that cops shouldn't do, she's for. You know who she listens to and admire and respect? It's Miss Nancy. But you know what? You can't say that. That's right. She's a black woman. And I keep saying that for people to understand. Because they're your color don't mean they're your kind. We have certain hosts and people in this city who bragged on her. praised her, didn't even know her. Oh, we bettered her. We did this. It's always we this, that. Now they're the ones, the main ones ready to throw down the subway in front of the train. I mean, at some point, you got to hold people accountable. Let's talk about the thing we're here with the COVID-19. The black historians got the same information as that white kid did. It was a two-part split. Listen, you put the bid in for this, and they told the white boy, you put the bid in for this, y'all going to get the contract. Are we clear? From what I understand, the clear was Ford. Okay, no problem. He didn't have no problems. Everything that he was doing was running on time, smooth, until he decided, wait a minute, hold on, I want to switch this to a profit organization. Where is it that, you know, one did wrong and the other didn't do wrong? I mean, both of them had the bids illegally. But I don't see nobody talking about, soon as that come up tomorrow. They won't even mention that. But in this city, it's your color that's supposed to get you. If you're black, you're supposed to get away with everything and be given everything. If you're white, you be punished, you know, by black people. But everything in this city is about a deal. You don't have to like it, but that's the way it works. Here, you're going to make $5 million.
How was everything going smoothly? I don't understand. How was everything, based on the news reports we have, George, how was everything going smoothly with Philly fighting COVID? I mean, it was, I mean, they hadn't really even gotten things. I mean, they were doing some testing, right, initially, and then they just as soon as they started the vaccination piece of it, they botched that. So I don't understand how things were running smooth. And they should have had no business being, bottom line, they should have had no business being offered the contract in the first place. They had no medical expertise. Nobody was certain, but there was really no certified medical professionals.
Rebecca Reinhardt explained everybody. She spelled it out better than I could ever spell it out. So all this blame stuff, you got to blame council for that, okay? Like she said, it's a system in this city that's wrong, but they do it. They award and it's called reward and punishment. You reward your friends, you punish your enemy. That's just the way it is. Nobody's going to accept. Everybody talk about, oh, this right and that. Man, that right and wrong is all a matter of an opinion. That's all it is an opinion. Business is done each and every day like that. You know how many college students get paid little or nothing to put a proposal together for RFP? If they go to the college, you know who the kids say, man, I need to take care of this. All right, I'm going to give you $500. When can you have it? I have it for you in a couple of days.
Right.
Everything is in the thing. Perfect, Charles. Everybody want to act so dumb like they don't know that. Oh, well.
So, I mean, I guess it's time for us to learn how to do that then. maybe it's time to get, like, you know, black professors at some of these local colleges or something, you know, to start and figure out how to, like, if that's the way it works, then okay, well, then let's learn it. Let's figure it out.
Drexel has the best proposal writers, right? Anything with medical and law, Temple has it, right?
Yeah.
And you have the South. Those colleges are known from all over the country to say, if you want to really get rich quick, go to Philly, go to those, get a hold of some of them college kids. If you need some law stuff, you know where you go? You go to the Beasley White law library at Temple University. Go to the kid that's in charge of the library and let's see, we've got this property, I need you to write a brief for me. You say, okay, come back in an hour. And your brief is done. Charles, for whatever reason, and you come from the streets and you know how it works. If you got the money and you got the hookup, you're going to get what you want.
So that's why I'm like,
everybody want to play like.
Okay, so is it anything wrong with me saying that? I feel like that's a problem. I'm like, I'm tired of like Philly's hookup culture. Like I'm tired of that. Why does that have to be a hookup? Why can't it just be like and it's a contradiction too. On one hand, we're talking about we're calling out the hookup culture, you know, the cliquish networky nature of Philly, but on the other hand, you know, we're constantly also grieving about like how things don't work out for us as Black Philly. You know, it's like, well, I mean, why not? It's time to like put a stick of dynamite under that and just blow it up. Really, I think it's about that time. I mean, we're gonna have to, George. I mean, either we're gonna try to get somewhere, we got to make some progress here or not. The clock is ticking, and it's ticking against us rapidly.
You know why Black people be behind? Black folks work the deal. Black folks work on emotion. Well, we're not going to do that. That's not right. We're going to stay in the high ground. They sound like Biden with that foolishness with Republicans. If somebody's doing
but you know, Biden getting that $1.9 trillion pandemic relief bill passed though.
Oh, he gonna get that.
I think sometimes we underestimate Biden. But that's just
no. I don't underestimate Biden. I know Biden pretty well. I know him better than most people do. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
if he believes in all that compromise, I would treat them Republicans the same way they treated Democrats. They don't ask you nothing. When they was in charge, they didn't even bother to ask. So why would he bother to ask? Oh, that's you. We can't treat them the way they treated us. Okay, keep on. That's the problem with people.
I think it was kind of masterful how he had him at the White House on Monday, and then the next day he had the Senate pass the procedure to do budget reconciliation. Like, I thought that was masterful. You know, it's just like.
Well, I'm not saying.
I'm not saying. I think he should. I'm not. You know, there's still a lot more to go. There's still a whole term of the presidency to go. I gotta let you go, George, because I gotta bring someone else on. But it was a good conversation. I appreciate it. Let me go to Ali out of North Philly, calling in for a reality check. Ali.
Yeah, Charles, how are you?
Hey, good. Ali, excuse me. Go ahead.
Yes. How are you, Charles?
I'm all right. I'm hanging in there. Thank you.
Charles, you know, I don't usually call, but you know, I'm not saying everybody not entitled to an opinion, but that guy George, he really, I mean, he's always got a lot to say, but he never has a solution to the problem. You know, I mean, if you have an opinion, that's fine. But if you call it and always criticizing, then you should have a solution to a problem. And that's all I have to say, Charles. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Ali, I appreciate it. So we, you know, I appreciate that. We definitely want to come on here with solutions. I don't. One solution is, however, all due respect to you, Mr. Ali, I actually feel you saying that and coming from a really good, genuine place. I don't want us to get too much into the habit of attacking each of us. I want people to feel comfortable when they come on here with opinions and sharing their views and opinions. So I don't want us to, you know, call out specific listeners or callers and disparage them. But to Mr. Ali's core point, yeah, I mean, we have to work towards solutions. We have to figure this out. You know, obviously we've been doing things a certain way. This city has been doing things a certain way, and it hasn't been working. It's not working. And so I don't think that's me being emotional. Yeah, I mean, you got to be emotional about some of that. How can you not be emotional, right, about the state of things in a place like Philadelphia? The state, how can you not be angry and emotional about the state of the overall, the national black condition, right? It is something that weighs on all of us frequently. So okay, so now we have to figure out how do we rise up out of it. Let me go to the Facebook comments page because it's there's some interesting comments here. Let me see. Haley Stephen Alston, thanks Charles, fantastic info on how to better follow the council bills and resolutions. I'll try to do better. Thanks for that, Haley. I appreciate that. I'm glad people were listening. So I'll try to do more with that. I'm dying fast. Excuse me, but why did that bell ring? The other lady before him got way more time with no bell. The bias is around. And President Clark. So anytime someone gives kudos to the city council president, seems to get more time to speak. Interesting, but not surprising. Keep a record, people. I don't know. I haven't noticed that. Maybe I'll be checking out I'll use that stopwatch when a public comment period. Michelle Tulloch, I noticed that. Got to stroke his ego first. All right. Haley Stephen Alston, what is the Philadelphia Land Bank other than what is on Google search? How far reaching is this entity? It's a very good question. I don't have that in front of me. There's an organization, a Philly Land Bank Coalition. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't have like the website in front of me. I'll get that and I'll have that for later on because I want to discuss that more as we had in the last week. Lisa Andrews, just what do these resolutions mean? Are they always eventually turned into bills? No, I mean, you have like the resolutions and you have the ordinances. The resolutions are just basically a sense of the council. That's more emotion, and the ordinances are more meat. You know, the ordinances are like real law. This is what we want to do to impact something. Resolutions are just basically the council saying this is how they feel about something, but they're not going to really do anything about it. So the real meat, so that's the difference. You'll hear resolutions and you'll hear ordinances. The real meat is the ordinances. Like, you know, remember that question from back in the 80s, where's the beef? That's the ordinances. It's in the ordinances. All right, Josie Collins, thank you for listening in. Okay, Raphael Suleiman here, making some interesting points. The zoning debate is too complex for many of the black politicians in Philly. Most of them have very thin resumes. The only person who can speak on it intelligently is the only black lawyer on the council, Derek Green. Talking about AKA and the Black Book Fair is not helping us. Once the zoning changes in the city, it will be too late for Black Philly. Indeed. Raphael understands where I'm coming from on that. I'm just saying, like, we had public comment, had a major bill about creating a zoning review commission. Urban planning is, that's another thing too. If you have a young person, they're getting ready to go to college, or they're trying to figure out a career path, talk to them about getting into urban planning. Very few Black people in urban planning. And the Black people who are in urban planning, I have a lot of conversations with them. Like, we bring on the brother who, what's his name? Oh my gosh, Pete Saunders. Pete Saunders, we bring him on from Chicago. He's a preeminent, the reason I brought him on, because he's a noted national urban planning expert, Black urban planning expert. And he looks at issues. In fact, we're going to talk to him, I think, next week. We're going to talk to him about zoning and why that's important. But very few, and the Black people who are in it, like Pete, will tell you how much it frustrates them that there are very few Black people in urban planning. Raphael Suleiman goes on. Thanks, Raphael. There are plenty of light-skinned Black dudes, some of whom may be Dominicans or Latinos who grew up in grimy neighborhoods in northern New Jersey and New York City. You don't have to qualify your skin tone or your hair texture, or even your current wardrobe all the time, Mr. Ellison. I don't all the time, but I just noticed something that Marie said, and I was like, I think that's where he was coming from. Pressure busts pipes or it makes diamonds, Mr. Ellison. All right, point very well taken, Raphael. Raphael continues to go on. I think these are important points I'm making, so that's why I want to read them real quick. The only places where Black working class people could own homes on the East Coast was in Philly or Baltimore. Absolutely correct. If they came up from the South looking for better opportunities, which is what my grandmother did. That's what my grandmother did. Came up from South, escaping segregation, looking for better opportunities, and that's planted the seeds. D.C. and New York City and New Jersey have become out of reach for the average Black lower middle class person if they want to own a home now. Baltimore has to be rebuilt, especially West Baltimore. That is how bad the living conditions are for Black people in Charm City. That's the honest to God's truth right there. Philly is actively gentrifying. Once the biotech industry gets here, the average home price will be out of reach for most Black people here. Yes. All of the Gula Geechee Black families originally from South Carolina who have been in Philly for generations have to realize now that once the biotech tech industry hits the city, employment without significant skill levels is not going to happen anymore. The future is almost here, Black Philly. I hope that our leaders are preparing you for it. Yeah, Raphael Suleiman goes on. The Russian kid at the helm of Philly fighting COVID has a wealthy Russian father who fronted the cash for the organization. Thank you for saying this, Raphael. That is how they got the contract. That's what we need. I was just asking a reporter, I think it was from the Philly Inquirer or Billy Penn, about, are y'all looking into this dude's dad? Philly has a very corrupt manner in the way they conduct city business. The fact is known. Dr. Stanford is a pediatric surgeon. She may not have public health experts on her staff who could have written the proper proposals for a massive citywide vaccination program. An MPH degree, a master's in public health degree, is a separate degree from an MD degree. That's for Raphael Suleiman today. Put like the fists. Yes. Like, look into that dude's father. And out of North Philly, calling in for a reality check. Ann? Oh, Ann hung up. I'm sorry, Ann. I had to read that because I think it was just crucial comments and perspective. I love what Raphael Suleiman was saying here. There are a few times where I disagree with Raphael, but most of the time, Raphael is spot on. So I appreciate you, Raphael. I hope you know that. I genuinely, sincerely do appreciate what you're just saying right here. 215, we got about several more minutes. So 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. I think this is a very productive and enlightening session of City Council Live and Reality Check today. I've been thoroughly enjoying it, and so it's given me some things to think about. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. Overall, I don't think there was anything wrong in what Sherelle Parker was saying. I don't think it was anything elitist. I don't know. I don't know Sherelle Parker like that. Maybe there's other people who do, and they're like, okay, they figured that whatever she was saying meant something completely different from what I was taken from it. Let me go to Prince out of Schuylkill, who was calling in for a reality check. Prince?
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, what's happening? How you doing, Prince?
Good. Hey, can you ever get the guy from the union for the street cleanup street commission on your show?
Yeah, we've had them on. We had them on last year, you know, to highlight the fact that sanitation workers weren't getting PPEs and other protections while they're working through pandemic. We had them on before. We can get it back on.
Well, the reason why I asked that question is because, I mean, I know you mentioned a lot about Philadelphia being dirty and not as clean as it could be, and because
Right.
this is a union town, it makes it because your show is probably somewhat syndicated or national to some extent. Other people in Philly hear you. I wanted to get them on there because they, you know, other than suffering with not having the proper equipment, not getting hazard pay, and having to clean up this city under this unrest, I think it's only fair that you get the both sides of the story because it's dirty for a reason, not dirty just because, you know, because on one side of the track, you got these multimillionaires living in these rich homes, and they seem to always get the street cleaned in their neighborhood. So are there private contractors? You know, how big is this? So we need to have some more information because once you say something about Philadelphia, like you noticed, lately it's been going national.
Yeah, it has.
So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because
Yeah, I mean, that's deliberate. I mean, we have, like, especially this show, Reality Check, we have tentacles that spread beyond, like, Philly. And so, and again, I have, you know, I broadcast quite a bit from D.C., and I encourage people. I got a network of people. I'm telling them, yo, listen in, like, you know, because why does it always have to be New York and L.A. and Chicago on the map? No, Philly, we do some important things in Philly, too. And I want people to know about that. And I want people in Philly to know about things going on outside of Philly. Oh, go ahead.
Charles, let me finish this right here. I know you just third period time. So, and another thing, folks think that George may be a little hard on people, but once again, he's probably in those rooms that most people are not in. And we heard Cindy Bass on our show yesterday talk about accountability. But here, George, I mean, not George, but take a look at this right here. Cindy Bass is chair of that health appropriation of those dollars, and yet she say all we do is appropriate and investigate. And if this guy had not changed from nonprofit to for-profit, he would still be operating now. And so we're not saying that the guy's at fault. We're saying that the people who let him walk away with the check, who authorized him cutting the check, we're talking Cindy Bass, Bobby Heenan, and Helen Gimp. All three of them approved this budget for this guy to get this money, and that's where the buck should stay at. Get it off the guy who performed the task. Put it on the people who approved the dollars for him to, who appropriated the dollars for him to be mobilized and put this stuff in place. And I'm going to hang up and listen to you.
All right. It's a very good point, Prince. No, you're absolutely right. We're going to have to look at, because once again, there was a presentation made before City Council. He had conversations with members of council. What were those conversations like? Red flags didn't show up then. It's a relevant question. It's a difficult one for a few city council members, but they're going to have to start answering it because you know, people aren't stupid. All right, that wraps this Thursday edition of Reality Check, which is also City Council Live. You heard City Council Live earlier on, gavel-to-gavel coverage of the Philadelphia City Council. Thanks for tuning in and listening in to that. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your comments on Facebook Live as well. Thanks for people who also called in as well. Appreciate that. Appreciate everyone. Appreciate Troy Wilmore. Appreciate the WURD family. Don't forget your 4WURD membership to be a part of that. WURDradio.com/4WURD. The Source is up next with Andrea Lawful Sanders, so keep your WURD radio dial locked in. In the meantime, Philly and beyond, until I see you, God willing, next Monday at 10 a.m., please stay sharp, please stay smart. But more importantly, everyone, I want you to stay safe out there, please, and try to keep everyone around you as best you can within your power safe as well. I'm Charles Ellison, and I'm signing off. Take care. Have a great weekend.